Podcast host. This is Jamie Farr from the TV series MASH. And Yoko Chips wanted me to say hi to all the guys. And I got their names here. Art, Franco, Scoot, and of course Yoko Chips, Mike, and the other Mike. And they had a question. They said, who was Klinger's favorite comic book and superhero? Well, I believe you have me confused with Radar. As a matter of fact, I just emailed Gary Berghoff, who played Radar, and he told me that his favorite comic book actually was Wiz Comics, and his favorite character was Captain Marvel. But you got the right guy, Jamie Farr, because I love comic books. I had a whole bunch of, I had the first Superman and the first Detective Comics that introduced Batman. As a matter of fact, at one of the conventions, I met Bob Kane, and he did a rendering of Batman for me, and I can't find it, otherwise I'd show it to you, but look at, here's some of the collections I have. My wife got me this one here, and of course it has all the great characters in there, the Spectre and Hawkman and Plastic Man, and of course here's the great comics. I used to enjoy those. I get the New York Mirror and the Chicago Tribune. They get all the comic characters, and I wanted to tell you, I had all the originals. They were absolutely pristine, and when I got drafted into the Army, I had them all put in my mom's garage in a nice big barrel. And guess what? When I got out, she had given them all away. I could have retired. I didn't have to do MASH. I had all these wonderful, absolutely beautiful comic books that I had, and I loved them so much. And Scoot, I guess you're from Toledo, and you like Tony Pacos, so I have a picture of that. So listen, guys, I like podcasts. I'll check in with you. Jeff Maxwell, who played Igor, has MASH Matters, which is a podcast on about MASH, and of course Alan Alda has one called Clear and Vivid. So nice talking to all of you, and I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic. I haven't seen that. He said geez. Tony Pacos. He said,
yeah, there it is. The Mud Hen's hat back there.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh God! As soon as he said, "I left my comics at my mom's house," I just was screaming the rest of the way because you knew what was coming.
I like
how you put them in a nice box and kept them perfect for me. You never hear that story. So the dog needed a chew toy. That's what.
How about name checking all the heroes? Hawkman and the Spectre.
Oh yeah.
And, oh my God. You know,
and he's such a big fan.
I
he's
like
gonna
how
be,
you have 15 intros to the show now.
I was gonna say I'm gonna send him a link, and he's gonna be so disappointed when he sees the Oh Yeah podcast. What is this? Why are they? We love Jamie.
Are they
If
paying
you are
for me?
watching, because I will send you this link. We absolutely love you. I did send a message saying you exceeded our expectations with that incredible well wish, and
was awesome.
thank you so much. So yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we do talk
Jamie.
about you on the pod all the time, and he's gonna watch this and go,
All
the
the
only
time.
person I like is that Ted Stones.
He was the only normal one. But when he gets here, I'm going to
Do
say,
you have the Klinger action figure? Show it.
There it is.
All right.
That's right. We got a Klinger action
Yeah.
figure, so that's fantastic, man. Yeah. Well, welcome to
gets here,
Word
I'm gonna-
Balloon and the Yeah podcast.
Yeah, welcome
You
to
know
the
the
Yeah
regulars.
podcast.
Everybody's here. It's Art, Franco, Scoot, Skoke, Mike, and so happy to welcome our special guest, animator extraordinaire, the creator of Darkwing Duck. Hence the wallpaper.
That's a much better name.
Darkwing Duck. You gotta go back in the time machine and fix it. Tad Stones, everybody! Yay!
oh, yeah, Ted
Woo!
Stones. Woohoo.
All
Good to see
right.
you, man. So yeah, what'd you think of the Jamie thing, man? How about that?
I thought that was incredible. Some people often like bring up an old Darkwing Duck toy for me to sign, and that's cool, and the new Funko Pops and all of that. But to have somebody say, "Look, I have this image of you,"
Yeah.
I hope you get used to that. Show them the action figure. Oh, here. No, it was incredible. And obviously it was a real thing, but just, again, when he goes on to say, I had this and it was pristine and all of that, I did tell my mom that because at a certain point, like when I was in high school, you started to get those. That was like the first time suddenly, there was an auction of Superman, the first Action Comics it went for $300.
Yeah.
Oh my God! So I'd say, "Oh yeah, these will put me through college." She used to say, "I thought those are going to put you through college." It's like, you know what? I did all right, and you threw away my Donald Duck stuffed animal. So
Yeah, man. Signed by
I want
Walter.
to talk about things that, yeah.
So he got a Bob Kane sketch at a convention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob Kane pitched me a show.
Really?
Wow.
Talk about that, Tad. That's amazing.
When I was at, my history at Disney is very weird, and even now, or even back then, I would say, why did they call me into that? Why was I in that office? But they needed somebody to. I guess I was in story at the time, but not on a feature or something like that. But anyway, I was called to because Bob Kane brought in what was the thing? I forget. It was
Courageous Cat?
Catman and Minuteman. Courageous Cat.
Yeah, Courageous Cat, yeah.
And that was one. And then and I forget how that happened because I just realized as I was telling the story, I said, "Oh no, I remember the pitch that I took." A security guard at Disneyland had an idea for a sequel to Snow White. And, he said it to somebody, and they just basically needed somebody to like pitch it to
front.
And I was like, I was a kid. So it was like whatever the executive was, and I was there. And it was like, and the Seven Dwarves. And, I don't remember the pitch at all, but it was one of those things like, that's how small the company was back then, that security guard says something to somebody and suddenly you're at the studio lot. When I started at Disney in 1974, right after Ron Clements, Ron was there like 5-6 months ahead of me. And Ron went on to, do Little Mermaid and Aladdin and reinvent movie animation along with John Musker. And then just before Glenn Keane, was arguably one of the top animators of all time. So that was my little nook there in the 70s. But I walked all around, the studio and ended up,
that's cool.
Like I say, on these weird special projects and moved on into story and designed rides for Epcot Center. Got to work with Ward Kimball, one of the all-time fantastic animators. In a little room, like 8x10 room for 9 months. then there was a good year and a half where they really shouldn't have been paying me a salary and just dodging the bullet. But Disney was so small when I started, the animation department, not counting the ink and paint ladies, because that's when they still were painting cells.
Yeah, that's right.
It was just 55 people.
Wow.
55 people, and they put out a movie every like 5 years. So the one that had come out just before was Robin Hood.
Yes.
And then when
One
I
of the best.
came there, it was the original Rescuers. So I came in and did some in-betweening on that. And I was such a bad in-betweener, I came real close to being fired back then. Seriously. In fact, I used to do some in-betweens for Ron Clemens, who probably spared me. He probably went in and I know he actually corrected a bunch. But once I did something really fast, and he came out of his office and said, "What did you do? These are really good." And the fact that he was that surprised, it's like, oh, I felt so bad. I'm glad I did a good job. Sorry for the rest of the jobs, but it worked out for him in different ways.
I think a little.
But it was a tiny company. We used to walk around the back lot and go up into the catwalks of the sound stages and throw super balls off, just to watch how they bounce, because the sound stages were being used to store 16 millimeter educational films. Because the company was so small, it didn't even occur to them that you could rent out these stages, make a little coin in between your movies, because they did only about 3 movies a year, and that was like the era of Cat from Outer Space, and the computer wore tennis shoes, and the world's greatest athlete, Kurt Russell,
Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah, well, that would have been a little earlier, I think.
Oh,
we had the real, like the Midville comedies. That's
Joe Flynn as the dean.
What's wrong with you kids?
Yes. And then I was there. So I was there when I started doing my TV shows. I actually got to be, my first shows were still edited on film, and I got the taste of that and the limitations of that. And then, of course, in the digital era. And then the biggest switch was from that tiny little company when Michael Eisner, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and Frank Wells, those guys came in.
Yeah.
And a lot of what they did early on was just common sense. It's like, well, it's a movie studio. What say we make some movies?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was like, yeah. So that changed the world. But, it was a great change in, well, now, this is before, I think I left before they started buying up the half of the world that the other guys don't own. So
that brings
Anyway,
up something interesting, because I wanted to, the reason we actually asked you here is because we wanted to pitch you a new Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Starring us.
What is your security guard background? Because
I can look like one. Maybe
you don't have it. Yeah,
I'm good at running from security guards. I could run from
actually in the new DuckTales, in the episode where they invent the new Darkwing, I actually play a security guard. I'm a seagull.
Oh, cool.
They're playing the security guard. Yeah.
I always
Here's a
thought a good. Oh yeah, what's that?
Oh, I was finish your thought, Artie. It's cool.
Oh, I was gonna say a good pitch would be that Snow White marries Dopey, and then and Doc dies. So now there's only 6 dwarves now.
A lot of tragedy in your
yeah,
character. I like that.
yeah, because it's real life. It reflects our real life.
Grumpy's happy.
Grumpy
So-
gets mad.
Tyler has a
Grumpy
good question
drug
here.
addict.
Were you involved in the Disney Renaissance years?
Pardon me?
Tyler wants to know if you were involved in the Disney Renaissance years.
Well, everybody's got a different definition of when that was, but I started with all those guys when I was already in TV, when Ron and John were doing the first drafts of Little Mermaid, because they sent me a draft to read for my input. But I was literally next to Ron we had a Gong Show meetings. Eisner's and Katzenberg would do those. And for those young ones who don't remember the Gong Show,
Chucky,
And
baby.
Jamie Farr
baby.
was part of it, huh? Yeah, it was, you come up, you do an act, and you've got 30 seconds, and then if you're not good enough, you get gonged and you get pulled off by a hook. So you would come in, and they'd say, "Oh, we're doing a gong show for Michael and Jeffrey." It's like you pitch story ideas in as short as possible thing, and they just say, not being mean, they might ask a question to you, but they say, "Gong, do that." And I was there when Ron pitched Little Mermaid, and the response was, "Guys, you already did that. You did Splash. It was a great movie." And Ron, who's kind of a quiet spoken guy, tried to explain it was a whole different thing. And they said, "No, I mean, you did it. It was a fantastic film, but we don't want to repeat it just in animation." And luckily, everybody around the table pitched things. And then at the end, they didn't have, because this was on a Saturday, of course. At the end, they said, "Okay, we didn't get through everybody. I want to go home." Eisner had his dog in the room. It was, hand in things that you didn't pitch. Well, Ron handed in Little Mermaid. When they finally read it, they realized, "Oh, wait, this is an entirely different thing."
There's a sea witch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was not Splash. Daryl Hannah, Ariel.
Tom Hanks. It never says Tom Hanks in here once. Right? He's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, it was a whole different way of thinking about things. And,
did they ever bring up?
So the Renaissance there was really because both the talent of Ron and John and all the guys in story and the other guys, and several of them were still working there doing Frozen 2, and it was their talent, and it was also Jeffrey Katzenberg, who really took to animation because of Howard Ashman, who did the music for Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, and really taught Jeffrey about musical theater, and a lot of those rules went right into animation about, no, you don't stick in a song, you take your most dramatic moment and make that a song, and that's how you tell the story through music. And Jeffrey really just took to animation, and I tell this story a lot of times. We had a projection room, which you'd call a sweatbox. You'd do sweatbox notes, which are kind of like dailies in live action, but you look at an animated scene or a reel or something, and you give notes on it. So they're showing this to Jeffrey, and of the Black Cauldron, actually. And Jeffrey said the Horn King was coming down the stairs. He says, "Do you have this from another angle?" And the room was kind of quiet. And then the producer said, "We could draw it from another angle." And then Jeffrey, laughed like that. And the older crowd there, and these weren't the guys who worked with Walt. The 9 Old Men had moved on. So kind of the second tier, because management wasn't ready to trust the young guys yet. They all got this chance to step up, and they were very derisive of that moment. They were saying, "Look how little Jeffrey knows." And I think the younger crowd looked at that moment and said, "He's thinking about it as a movie. He's saying, basically, this shot isn't powerful enough. You need a better angle on it. You need, he's thinking about it as a movie." And one of the things Jeffrey did was bring film editors into the process early on. So while the storyboards were becoming more cinematic, as they're cutting it together to the soundtrack to get the feel of the movie, the story editor could ask for, if I had this kind of shot, I could really make more of this and link this together. He'd work with the directors. So immediately, just on a film side of things, the movies got much better, more cinematic. Yeah. Because frankly, up till that time, the films were being done with the same film rules as Snow White or Pinocchio.
Sure.
I mean, great standard stuff, great way to tell a story. Wooly Reitherman, who's the director of a lot of those middle pictures, like 101 Dalmatians, which is fantastic, but Aristocats and Robin Hood, which are notably less fantastic. Anyway, he was very good about showcasing the animators, but he wasn't one to cover up the action by doing a multiplane shot or having, he wasn't one for mood. It was like, oh no, let's make sure everybody's looking at this spot, highlight them, and let the animators do their acting.
That's
So that
outstanding.
was a long answer to a question, which
I like
Chad,
it,
that was
yeah.
amazing. Don't kid yourself. That was fantastic.
Now, at any point in The Little Mermaid, I don't know if you were there, and I know it's an internet rumor. I don't know if it's true, but was it really based off of Alyssa Milano, the character design? That's what I heard, that The Little Mermaid, Ariel, was based off of Alyssa Milano. I don't know.
I would say, I couldn't say for sure, but I know Glenn, who basically designed her, and that doesn't seem like a fit to me.
Oh, okay. So it's a rumor.
Actually, what's really strange is Sherry Stoner, who's a fantastic animation writer and comedy writer. She also was the live action model for Little Mermaid.
Oh, cool.
And the weird thing, I had lunch with her when I was at TV, and she was an animation writer, and had lunch with her, and it was very unnerving because Ariel's movements were her movements. So she'd do something with a glass of water or move her head in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay,
I thought you were going to say
so,
it was unnerving because she ordered shrimp for lunch. Like, what? So I'll have the
just one big lobster.
I'll have the spinach salad.
Yeah. And she said, well, people say stoner, but it's actually pronounced.
More tartar sauce, please. Yeah.
So,
more lemon.
How about Floyd Norman? Any Floyd Norman encounters and stories?
I didn't meet. I guess I met Floyd at least once. I went over to merchandising and licensing where those guys were, but I didn't know him well there. I know him now. But God, Mike Royer was over there, and it was just
that's great.
Certain things didn't click. That it's like if I was really like, hey, he was the inker for Jack Kirby and doing these that you collected and all that, it's those conversations not had, that are just,
Got it. We're mentioning Mike Royer, also the Marvel superhero cartoons. He was one of the animators that took those comic panels and moved an arm or a leg, or literally would tilt the panel to make it look like animation.
Yeah.
Or
my animation teacher in
you mean
college
when
actually
Captain America throws his mighty shield?
Exactly.
All those
Johnny,
who chose to oppose that shield must yield.
Classic.
Yeah. Johnny, I was talking to you about Chuck Harrington, my animation professor in college, and he worked on those, and I asked him why, and he said, well, because Marvel wanted their artist, and they had drawn all the pieces, like Captain America, and they said, well, we have to animate this, and they didn't like the animation. They're like, no, you have to use our artist. So what they wound up doing was taking just the arm and moving the arm or moving the lower jaw, because that's the only way they could keep the actual drawings from the Marvel artist.
Yeah, that's
I gotta say there had to be a budget thing too, because I remember at the times Stan Lee in his soapbox actually kind of did a backhanded kind of thing of well, it's not Disney animation. Is what he was referred to it, but they're great stories.
Well, back then the animators would their supplies work. They get the comics and scissors. Like, all right, guys, go for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Totally.
And of course, it didn't matter how many different people drew the Hulk. None of them matched.
Right. They did go Hulks in
that
cartoon
Hulk
too.
To Jack Kirby Hulk.
Herb Trimp
I remember
Hulk,
again at the time. Those are the comics I grew up with. There was a debate that the Hulk kept getting better looking as he moved on, because those early Hulk comics, which I had some.
The Thing too, he looked like
Ditko drew him like, oh yeah, well, here's the thing. I was just wondering this, and I guess we can ask Mark Evanier. When you look at a Jack Kirby pencil page, it's like, if he was doing it today, someone would just put it into Photoshop and turn up the contrast, and pretty much it would be there, because he shaded everything. No little, at least few that I've seen, little X's he'd shaded in. So changing the Thing from that lumpy, bumpy skin guy from those first couple of issues to the Chick Stone, it could have just been the inker. I mean, it was just like, that's like a basic shape of this guy was this huge kind of pyramid shape to this guy with the heavy eyebrows and the Thing. It's kind of like, I never hear anybody talk about that mutation, that change, because I don't remember it being a gradual thing. I mean, I came into, I read DC and Silver Age comics and Big Boy comics for that matter. From when I was a little kid, and the Marvel comics, like I hit right. My first comic was Tales of Suspense. I want to say 38. It was Iron Man versus the Melter in the big yellow suit. And the second comic was Tales to Astonish 49. It was the issue where Ant-Man became Giant Man, beautifully illustrated by Don Heck. It was one of my favorite artists who doesn't get credit enough.
Agreed.
But that was the era. But then you could, and was the fun of comic collecting back then. You could go to used bookstores, and generally they had a big box of comics just thrown in there for a nickel a piece.
Yep.
I got 2 copies of Avengers #1 for a nickel each.
Wow.
I got, and then to kind of fill in the gaps, you could write into Marvel, and I think I got Avengers #3. I could see the cover. I think it was 2 or 3. Anyway, I got
Space
it for
Phantom,
35 cents. Yeah. It was
wow.
Space Phantom, yeah.
Cool.
That's
so
fantastic.
For 35 cents directly from Marvel, because they
That's
just sold off whatever back issues they had laying around. So
Sure.
it came in a big manila envelope.
Can
And
you
it's one of
imagine?
those things where, geez, if you just thought about it, it's like, oh, maybe I should take this seriously. But
That's cool.
That's amazing.
man.
That's so great. Well, like you said about the evolution of the Thing and the Hulk, the way that the armor went from gray to just the yellow bulky suit, and then my favorite moment, and I think it only lasted for 6 months, and I don't even know if it was bi-monthly back then, but I had Dick Ayers do an Iron Man sketch for me with the faceplate where it came up in the triangles.
Yeah.
I think
Because that's my
favorite Iron Man. Yeah.
and I learned about that from the Marvel superhero cartoon, because that's where they whatever that story was, they used those designs.
Yeah.
It was
that design.
There you go, attaboy, Mike.
Yellow and there you go.
Yeah.
The yellow and red suit was designed by Steve Ditko.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the one who created whatever he thinks of Iron Man's color scheme. I mean, if you grew up at a certain time, you'd say, no, Iron Man should be silver and red, or whatever.
And I know Stan.
That literally was Steve Ditko's thing.
I know Stan Goldberg too was an early Marvel colorist and responsible for some of the color schemes and things like that. And I before he passed away, I saw him a few times talk about stuff like that. So
And for 2 issues in the 70s, Iron Man had a nose, and it was weird because he had a nose for just two issues. But
George
that was the
Tuska,
time.
right?
Yeah, I think so. But that was the time when Mego Toys got the Iron Man permission to Iron Man, and they looked at the comics to see what he looked like, and so the Mego Iron Man toy has a nose because they made the toy at that same month that book was out.
Wow.
And that's why forever I know Iron Man with a nose, because that's my first when I had the toy, I was like, why? Who is this guy? And I looked, and he didn't look like Iron Man, and I thought until this day everyone thinks that he was supposed to be Dr. Doom because of his face, the way it looks, because you can see his eyeballs through his square eyes, and you can see his eyeballs and his teeth, and everyone thought that was supposed to be Dr. Doom.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What did your dad name him? Because your dad always gave him different names.
He was always Iron Man. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we might have called him Iron Man.
Tell Chad what he called your other guys, because it's funny.
I got at Christmas I would get Mego action figures, so I got one year I got the Thing and the Human Torch, and I'm a little kid, I don't know what their names are, and my dad told me their names were Rockman and Bernard.
Bernard.
So he was Bernard forever, until I got a comic book, because that was the first time I ever saw the Thing and Human Torch and Mr. Fantastic were the toys, Mego action figures. And I didn't know who they were because we would buy the comic books with no covers at that time. But we'd always get Justice League or Richie Rich and all these books. But so I finally got Fantastic Four when Super Skrull was fighting Spider-Man. I'm like, wait, he's calling him the Human Torch. And his name is Johnny. I'm like, his name's not Bernard.
And that's when Art found out his dad was human and a liar.
Yeah. And so when I was a little kid, I was about 4. And my dad told me one day that he was Batman. And I'm like, how can you be Batman? And I'm like, where's the Batcave? And he goes, oh, it's under the house. We had an apartment. And we had this small. It's under the house. He said, yeah. like, where's the entrance? How do I get there? And he goes, oh, it's the back porch. So I'm in the back porch looking for a doorway. And then I said, hey, Dad, who's do you have a Robin? Who's Robin? And he says, oh, Al, his friend Al was Robin. He was some Puerto Rican guy with a handlebar mustache. So he had black hair. They were cool. They were like, my dad and his friend looked like Tony Orlando and Freddie Prinze Jr. That's what they looked like when I was a kid. My dad looking like with the mustache and the big hair. And he goes, hey, how's it going? You know, that's how they were. And I said, Al is Robin? And I'm like, I don't believe you. And then the next day, we got a phone. So my dad brought home a phone and he hooked it up and it was a red telephone and he plugged it in the wall. And I was like, you brought home you are Batman. So I waited all day the next day by the phone. I'm looking at it. I'm a little kid. Anytime the phone rang, I would say, yes, Commissioner. And they'd say, Artie, get your dad. Batman's not here right now. He's working. Batman's not here. Artie, where's your mother? Batman's not here. So he had to tell me, don't answer. I'm not Batman. But yes, you are. We have a phone. So I still have that phone because it was a dial phone. But
so
I
he
had
was the first guy to basically say, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. My dad told me
that way, or did he get close to your ear and go, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. Well, he probably said it happy because I don't know.
Yeah, probably said it like this. I'm Batman.
I remember when I asked Al if he was Robin, he was very confused. So either he was lying to me or he knew how to keep a secret. You know, he was just.
Now wait a minute. When your dad renamed the Thing and the Human Torch, was he just playing with you, or did you just thrown away the wrapping and it was like he's?
I can't remember.
You know.
We didn't keep the packaging. We just opened them up. When you open up Christmas presents, you open it up, the gift wrap, and you open it again. You keep going until and I remember opening Lone Ranger and his horse that way, and I'm started playing with him. They're like, you still have more gifts. Oh, okay. And then you move on to the next thing. But that's how you open presents. So I don't remember ever opening the box. Like if he came in a box or a card back, I don't remember. But I remember I didn't know who they were.
Dad would have read. So.
And it's obviously my dad didn't read Marvel comics. He read Batman and Superman in 50s. I was born in 68, so he was in Vietnam. He didn't even know what Marvel was. He knew Spider-Man from the cartoon because I used to watch it, maybe the comics, but he didn't read them. So he didn't know who he was. He didn't know who the Thing was. He said, that's Rockman. Like, oh, cool. Rockman. And I'd make him fight the Hulk because they had the same bodies. I knew who the Hulk was because of the cartoons. And I always wonder, why didn't they make a Submariner cartoon or a Mego figure because he was on TV? But that was it. But Iron Man had a nose.
Okay, here's a question because we're all different ages here. Did anybody else call him Submariner?
My father called him Submariner.
I did.
My father did.
Because my feeling when somebody said there's Submariner, I said, no, a Submariner is a guy who works on a submarine. That's a real thing. This is the Submariner. So,
that's funny. And I always thought of the poem, the ancient one. I mean, not that I was reading this at 8 years old, but whatever. I read the Ancient Mariner, so I thought Submariner. But my father would always call him Submariner. Absolutely.
I remember because a cartoon called him Namor, the Submariner, and then the baseball team, the Mariners, were that's how I knew it.
Sure.
They had the cool logo with the pitchfork.
Yes.
The M was like a pitchfork, and that's what I remember. The Mariners and Submariner. Yeah.
Now, Tad, did you have Aurora models?
Yeah.
The monster models?
Well, also the superhero ones, but the monster ones too. Sure.
Oh, I didn't have the superhero ones. I had the classic Frankenstein, werewolf, Dracula, and the Mummy. The things that go for billions of dollars, I assume.
Yeah. I hear you.
The Mummy was the best paint job ever.
Yeah.
Because basically, I'm painting it. I'm just screwing it up, and then I use the paint thinner to wipe it off, which meant all the colors just stayed in the cracks. And perfect. It was like, wow, I've been into this technique. But sadly, the guy across the street was around. There's a family over there, and the adult guy was about 30 some years old. And I'm doing the math in my head. It's like, I wonder if he has any old comics, because I'm thinking he's like golden age guy, and he did. And I forgot what I paid, $10 or something for 3 stacks of comics, and they're mostly cowboy comics, a lot of Disney comics. So there's probably a lot of original Carl Barks stuff there.
Wow.
And a certain number of superhero comics. And that's when the first comic shops were opening, not direct market shops. We'll sell this comic for $35, you know. So, and I went to this guy in Hollywood, Bert Blum, Cherokee Bookshop. This day,
Curse this day.
Well, it's kind of like I had this list, and there was like a Wonder Woman there and things, and they weren't in great condition, but they were. And there was a couple of Captain Americas from the like the commie age, you know,
50s, sure,
in the early 50s or something. Anyway, I said a list. He goes, "Well, I'd have to see them," and so my mom was, you know, outside down the block in a car in Hollywood, so I'm going down there. I had to bring him in, and he looks through them, and he does this thing where he takes them and then he puts them behind him and says, "Well, I can give you whatever it was, this amount of money in trade-in," kind of stuff. And it's like,
you brought your toaster. Here you go.
It wasn't.
I'll trade you this.
Pretty much. So I basically got the one comic I needed that completed my set of Fantastic Four, which was Fantastic Four #5. You know, Dr. Doom. Anyway, I still had money to spend, and it's like I didn't have a list of comics I needed or didn't have anything in mind. So some guy had made models of just vacuum formed a hero blanks, pretty much like, you know, Hong Kong vinyl now, and you know, basically painted them up to be superheroes, no more detail than what was painted on. So I picked a Goliath when Giant Man became Goliath because it matched the mold, so it looked the best. I didn't have any special affinity toward him. It was like, okay, well, this is $5, I guess. So I walked out of there with that. I have no clue what happened to that thing. I mean, it evaporated before I got home, as far as my memory is concerned. But it was just like, it wasn't about the money. It's just like, I wish I just had those things and held on to them just to have them to look through when I started to know more about the artists and stuff like that. But this sneaky way of taking care, I mean, I was a teenager, but the idea of taking it and putting it behind me.
Yeah, he wasn't giving those back
as a psychological ploy, you know, it's like.
He knew if you wanted them, there must be something about these things.
Exactly.
Well, he was in the business. I mean, he was one of the first ones who started. There was like 3 comic shops there. It was Cherokee Bookshop, Collector's Bookstore, and then I forgot what the third one was. It was before Golden Apple.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, that was when it was just comics were still kept in boxes.
Yeah.
You know, just cardboard boxes. Nobody was shrink wrapping them or
Yeah.
you know, putting them in even in sleeves and all that.
Where
but
Art
it was
and Franco,
beyond. It was beyond the 5-cent box though.
when Art and Franco they have their store in Skokie, Illinois, suburban Chicago, and there used to be a place called the News Depot, and it was just a newsstand, and just like you described, in the back you could get Silver Age comics in the 70s for peanuts, and I would constantly buy 80-page Giants and other 12-cent comics that I remembered as a very tiny kid. I mean, I was born in '64, and most of the 12-cent comics that were given to me when I started buying comics, they were already 15 and 20 cents. So yeah. Jesus.
I gotta say that in those used bookstores, the non-Marvel comics that I would buy were Metal Men, which is
awesome.
Which are kind of like, you know, the Ross Andrews stuff.
Ross Andrews.
I went back. I actually pitched a Metal Men show to Warner Brothers once, and they gave me like Xeroxes of a lot of the issues.
Bruno, the Italian artist, Bruno Premiati or whatever. Gabe Harden knows his name by heart. Yeah. I forget his name from the Silver Age, the Arnold Drake stuff.
But those comics were insane. I loved them, and you realize they were actually the most Marvel comic. DC comic because it was all about the personalities of the robots.
Yeah.
But here there was a villain. They go to a planet, and it's like the artist and writer were like looking around their house and saying, that's a nice pasta maker. I use that roller to make pasta. Okay.
That could be a building.
So I don't know whether they were rollers or I think they were pasta rollers, but they were giant robots made of
Hilarious.
those. I love the Gas Gang and stuff like that. And the other comics I collected again with these 5-cent shots. I just love Gil Kane's artwork. And I bought Atom and Green Lanterns, and for those original Flash Green Lantern crossovers, and probably some Flashes too. But I realized, looking back at the time, just focus. I got to get these, anything with the little Marvel box in the corner. I probably could have found Showcase, whatever it is, when Flash was, the beginning of the Silver Age.
Number 4.
Probably there, But just to be able to collect those things would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, look, here's a good question from Brad. Did you collect Turok comics? I know you worked on the animated movie.
I had some. I didn't collect them. I had some, and it was perfect because Turok was a big video game at the time. They didn't have the rights to adapt a video game or anything like it, so you could only do the classic Gold Key stories.
Wow.
Which I thought was perfect.
Yeah.
But I think it was Tony Benedict who did our script. Is that right? A comic writer.
You got your IMDb up.
Anyway, it was that classic time, but they turned it into a story of brother against brother, and it was more about a Native American story, except I said, when I read it, I said, there's only 3 dinosaurs in here, and one of them is a giant bird. And that was, I actually started spitballing a story, which sounded great, and Tony was on the phone, I think, and would have been freaking out. And it was like, wait a minute, that would be a page 1 rewrite.
You should have made one of the dinosaurs his brother.
I mean, I said that to Mike Mignola, and I said, yeah, this is Turok. There's hardly any dinosaurs. I remember as Turok as a guy, this Indian in the Lost Valley who dips his arrows into this poisonous berries and can shoot down dinosaurs. And Mike says, no. Turok is the guy who goes into the hidden valley, dips his arrows into the poison berry, shoots a dinosaur, skins it, and makes boots out of it so he can walk across molten lava. That is how the brain of Mike Mignola works.
Outstanding.
He's just gets the essence of things, and I swear, Mike doesn't drive, and when studios would call him in for a meeting, they'd send a driver, and between his house and Manhattan Beach and wherever he was going, whatever studio, I mean, he comes up with 3 or 4 movie-worthy concepts. That's amazing. His brain puts those things together. But the Turok one, it's like, yeah, that's the movie I wanted to do. As it was, the movie was like the most violent thing ever. In fact, they questioned me when they said, here's the guy who's going to, produce, direct your movie. And they said, well, we don't, he did these Hellboy things, but this is really going to be, this is our first thing for adults. This is going to be violent. And it's like, okay. In the script, they had a scene where a tomahawk comes through and basically goes through a mouth and cuts a head off. And okay, we did that. And I don't think it was animated. I think it was just in the story reel, the animatic. And he saw that one. Oh my God! I said, it was in your script. Realize that. So.
You could have always changed it to that bird dinosaur.
That's amazing. Jesus. Hey,
anyway, that was a weird project, and again, I wasn't involved in the story other than trying to,
it was
more action to it as we went through.
Mm-hmm. And did they finish it? Forgive me, I didn't know there was an animated movie. I mean, is it out there?
It was just we did our 2 Hellboy movies,
right?
And really they had to overlap in production. So excuse me. So there's really no learning curve. So by the end of the second one, it's like, oh, now we have to do it. And Mike and I wrote a 3rd one, which now we knew what worked and what didn't work. The first one was like Mike Mignola short stories in feel, and we actually adapted one of his stories. Well,
Screw on Head, right?
Japanese legends. No, this was things like Screwing Ahead was a whole different production.
Oh, okay.
But this was
Sword
he
of
did
Stone.
a short story called Heads. It was a Japanese story that he actually, and we basically took his story and took a lot of the staging right out of it. But there was a connective material that was Sword of Storms, Hellboy.
Yes,
animated Sword of Storms.
That's our first conversation
that was
back
kind
in
of
the day.
connected.
Yeah.
Then the second one was more Hellboy's Central European roots, so it was vampires and blood and iron, and Elizabeth Bathory, and that was that. The third one would have been the most fun because it was basically Nazis, heads in jars, cyber apes. It was the mad scientist side of Hellboy, and that would have been awesome. But we finished that script, and they said, well, we need you to do this Turok project, and then you can go back onto Hellboy. So he did the Turok, but in the meantime, they sold the company to Starz. And Starz didn't want to put their own money into stuff. And frankly, we're pretty sure that Starz didn't know they had bought an animation company at the time, because they were buying the company basically for its backlog of video movies that they had. They just needed the content. They did a lot of horror films and things. And I swear they would have shut everything down, except when you came to the studio, that was the studio that did The Simpsons, not writing The Simpsons, but actually produced it. So when you walk and you don't know that whether you have an animation studio or you're still wondering about, and then you see The Simpsons on the wall, it's kind of like, well, wait, I recognize them. Don't they do well? Don't they make a lot of money? So
that's very popular.
I think they kept it. So yeah. So that was way after Disney, obviously.
Well, and the Hellboy.
Did the Turok movie ever come out? Because I don't know.
I mean, it was direct to video. I mean, you find
okay, because it wasn't listed on your IMDb, but I do want to find it. I'd love to see that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
It's a trip.
Yeah, I bet.
Let's put it this way: the two highlights of my career for me personally were Darkwing Duck and Hellboy animated for entirely different reasons. And with Hellboy, it was really trying to get that feeling of Mike Mignola stories in it, as opposed to putting my spin on it. But being able to write characters going into a haunted house. And it's not like Scooby-Doo where the house looks creepy and then and Shaggy is already shaking and whoa, it's a haunted house. No, it's like a live action film where no, we're going to split them apart and each one is going to have this experience. My favorite one was Abe Sapien is next to this big picture window of big glass. Divided up in little frames, but this huge, like wall-sized window of this mansion. And he's talking to Liz Sherman or something via walkie-talkie and just saying, no, nothing's happened here yet. And then you see his breath. He goes, wait a minute, the temperature is dropping. And it's just that kind of thing. And I mean, you saw him in front of this window, and then a moment later, you go wide again. And the window is covered in bloody handprints.
Nice.
And that ties into the story where all these women were killed by Elizabeth Bathory. And it's their spirit still haunting the place, looking for justice. And it's basically their handprints. So it was kind of coming up with those things. Hellboy walks into a kitchen and he goes, I know you're in here. Show yourself. And knives fall off the racks and land on a point first on a stainless steel table and just start spinning. And it was just coming up with just images like that. One of my favorites was we had this woman in the middle of a Japanese woman playing this Japanese stringed instrument. And she's just in the middle of the woods and Hellboy's looking at her. And then you go in close on her fingers as she plucks the string and a little drop of blood goes along the string and falls down as she's playing it. And I remember Mike saying, this is one of the hugest compliments. He says, oh, I'm going to tell people I did that. But I really love that. And Darkwing was everything we've talked about earlier. It was my love of the Silver Age. He started out as a secret agent, was not all that excited about, and then mutated, partly for legal reasons, but at a certain point, he was supposed to be called 00 Duck. And then we renamed him Darkwing Duck, and I was like, that freed me of the spy stuff was still in there. Well, they finance him. But it was me basically remembering covers mostly of The Flash. Flash as an old man. Or how many times did Julius Schwartz go back to the well to give the same story of, look, Superman is super evolved and his head is
They
like
get big heads, yeah.
shape. And then they did it with Lois Lane and they did it with the Flash at least 3 times they did that. I don't know that they did it to Batman. That would have been funny with the little ears on top.
He turned into a gorilla though at one point, I think.
Yes, there was that gorilla.
Oh yeah. Yeah, some of those go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to ask you because I mean you've done Darkwing Duck and then you did the Hellboy stuff. And do you get pinned down when you're doing Darkwing Duck and then when you're trying to go to Hellboy, they're like, no, you can't do that. You do this stuff. Did you have any of that happening?
No, because first I had 30 years at Disney where I started in features and then was one of the first people, was literally in the first meeting on TV animation at Michael Eisner's house. And then went back to features, thought about leaving the company, and instead they said, oh, well, come visit us at TV Animation. Ended up there for, I don't know, another 15 years or more, where I did all those series. And then basically, I was getting raises. I had just been around enough that my salary is up there. And the executive at the time, David Staten, just basically said we're not going to renew his contract. I had something in development, and they actually extended my contract to see if it would go. It didn't go, and I don't feel too bad in that this is the same guy who fired Ron Clements and John Musker, saying I think they're holding you back. And then when John Lasseter came in, he brought them right back. He says they're the legacy. You don't fire the legacy.
Wow.
And they went on to do a whole bunch of other movies, and their executive did not stay.
Somebody had to real fast.
Anyway, I had left Disney, and my first project was, and luckily, like some of those times when I renegotiated my contract, I knew I couldn't get more money, but I'd say, well, can I have another week of vacation? And they'd say, great, it's not going to cost us anything. However, my boss, who seemed to always take vacations, I was evidently too crucial, so I never was able to take all my vacation time. So even when they made the rule that you can't carry over X amount of vacation, I had all this stuff grandfathered in that they couldn't take away. So basically, when I was booted out of Disney, we lived off my vacation money, basically, for that first year. And then I did a video at Universal of Rare Rabbit.
Nice.
But the Hellboy thing is, I was a true Hellboy fan. I know that fans will go to cons and they always smell that director producer. Oh yeah, I'm a great fan of such and such. And it's like, does that mean you just read the comics before you got the movie deal or whatever? But it's like, no, I was on Hellboy.com, Dark Horse, and got to know people on the board. And that group was actually invited to the premiere of Guillermo's Hellboy. Some of the people stayed at my house on the way to San Diego. I mean, I was in the Hellboy mythos. Anyway, that was so I was there as a fan. Then we were doing a TV spinoff of Atlantis, which ultimately didn't go, but Mike had worked on Atlantis. And I basically, he'd read the script early on, and then after that, I would just tell him the story, and he'd design a monster, and then, to have his kind of feeling throughout the show. So that was my connection to Mike. I got to know Mike then. And then when I left Disney, I said, I need samples to show around to different kinds of shows. I said, do you mind if I do a couple of Hellboy stories? And he actually, gave notes on the 2 scripts that I did. And then he said, I can't really give a lot of time to things that are just for your portfolio. But I was in his head as not only somebody he liked working with, but actually he saw how I would adapt Hellboy. And then I was interviewed at Cartoon Network for, this is long ago, but one of the executives wanted to do Bone, Jeff Smith's Bone, and as a series of movies or something. And he was in Atlanta, and he had the executive here, I'm blanking on, who's currently at Warner Brothers, whatever, you know, and so I was being asked questions. It's like, it wasn't like I had a take on Bone. It was just like, get to know you. So the guy's asking questions, and I'm just thinking, well, this isn't going to happen because he's not asking anything that could tell you how I would do a movie, because it wasn't his project. But then the middle executive who knew me that was there said, well, you know, Tad, you know, worked on some Hellboy stuff with Mike. And the guy instantly shot up because Hellboy, he wanted to do Hellboy on Cartoon Network, and that was his baby. And he wanted to do it, and stuff was already moving on it, because I knew, for instance, that part of the deal is that the animated Hellboy could not look like Mike's Hellboy. And the basic reason is, if you put out a new toy and it looks like the Dark Horse Hellboy, who's to say who gets the money there? So it's like it had to be a different design. Sure. I knew that going in, and the guy was like, oh, you know, he says, I just thought, you know, we could practically just copy Mike's drawings and slide them down you know, almost describing the old Marvel superhero stuff. Mm-hmm. But I said no. But anyway, so when they had their first meetings, they ironed out of the different groups. So Mike, Cartoon Network, and Revolution Studios, who I think we did the first movies, and whatever, the animation company that was going to do it, who used to be at Film Roman, where I.
Oh, okay, yeah, Film Roman, sure.
Yeah, and anyway, it was like, well, who should we have do this? And it's like 4 of the 5 people there said, well, Tad Stone should do it. And the other people went, who is this guy? You know, and they actually called up one of my directors who worked on several shows with me. And the guy was kind of like, oh, I'm getting a call, you know, and getting a pitch. Mm-hmm. And the guy's a fantastic director, actually. And it was to ask about me. So okay, he let me know. So that's how. So I never had to. Yeah, I never had to get into that thing about, oh, can you do that or not? You know? Right. In fact, the only time it happened to me was the Turok thing, whereas I don't know if he can be violent enough.
Yeah,
you know?
That's awesome.
That's
I'll
funny.
show you violent. You need to see it. Yeah.
That's funny because when I was designing Itty Bitty Hellboy, I went through the same thing where I had to change. I had to put shorts on Hellboy, so he would be unique to that, and then I had to change the color of the girl's hair to like a reddish purple. I had to change a lot of my designs. So
there he is.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Yeah, there's Itty Bitty Hellboy. Yeah. So that's why he wears shorts. He has little nubbins for horns.
Do you see this question here, Tad? Tamir is curious if you had an actor in mind for the voice of Lobster Johnson, since he was teased at the end of the second Hellboy animated movie.
I'm pretty sure it did not, because I mean those characters lived in my head as Mike's creation. Yeah. So it was more about, oh, we're finally going to get to do Lobster Johnson. So I didn't think in terms of casting back then.
My favorite character in the Hellboy universe, Lobster Johnson, absolutely. Yeah. So
now, Ted, I was curious. I know you created a lot of things. You worked on a lot of characters, and you created Darkwing Duck. But do you have any more characters? Do you still create characters? Do you carry a sketchbook and stuff and draw things all the time and doodle?
I do. Yeah. I'm actually these days I'm trying to learn how to paint. So
cool.
Nice. You know, stuff like that.
I'm always curious. I'm always curious what artists do when they're not working on their projects. Like, what's your other stuff?
I gotta say that before I was retired, I ended up retiring a year early because it made more sense financially. And I said, okay. Which instantly took off that while I'm working on this job, I got to worry about finding the other job, because
they can relate.
Luckily,
absolutely.
My jobs lasted for bigger projects, but I was not built for a freelance life because of those first 30 years at Disney.
Sure.
As I said, that week after leaving Disney, it's like it's Thursday. You put out your hand and nobody puts a check in it. It's like, what? Wait, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Where were we on that?
Well, still drawing. If you're still drawing it, then
He's
hang
still
out.
creating
sorry.
things and characters.
Anyway, so I thought about my retirement, and I just assumed, well, there's a couple of series that I pitched, and I pitched them in different ways because I like the ideas so much, and I got permission to keep them, and I thought, when I retire, I'm going to play around because I love comics. I did write and draw, although most of my career turned into, I started as an artist and basically moved into story. And then when I got to TV, I was writing scripts all the time, but I was drawing all the time, but it was notes or rough designs to give to another artist to do a better job of it. I just thought, I'd play with, comics. And I actually did a whole issue of one of the ideas, but my wife said, you can't spend 18 hours a day in that little room, and the little room means the wall that way is about as far away as this wall is. I mean, it's not a big place.
But your world is only focused in front of you. Yeah,
exactly.
It's your desk.
Anyway, but I thought that I didn't trade a well-paying career in animation for a non-paying career in comics.
Yeah,
and it was also a bizarre thing. It was also a bizarre thing because retirement is a different issue because it's like I tended to think, because of my career, in terms of a series as opposed to I have this idea for a graphic novel, a single idea. And I said, wait a minute, if I do this and it's a success, they might want me to do another one.
Yeah,
it's like suddenly I would have a job again. It's
You're
like
out of retirement.
Yeah. So I actually played around. So I had two. One's a fantasy idea, and the other is a science fiction idea. And all my various. If you go to my website, it's like if you scroll down far enough, you'll eventually hit all sorts of drawings. But it was. I started toying with it. I realized that the idea really, it was about these creatures that they're like animal, vegetable, and mineral. It was a science fiction thing, and they could turn into any animal or turn into any mineral or form of mineral. So it could be a diamond or granite or lava or dust, and the same thing with the plant guy. He could grow into a redwood, or he could turn into pollen. You couldn't kill him because like
pollen.
Like the swamp thing,
Hey, you can't grab him. He got away.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sneezing.
And those are all great
sneeze.
things in animation. The idea of a bad guy grabbing a guy and him turning into dandelion puffs, would be great.
Sneeze. Yeah.
But to do that in a comic, to try to do that in a comic, it's like you're just using up panels just to get those transformation stuff across until people really know the character, and then it's like, I guess, grab and poof. But even it's just not as good as it would be an animated thing. So for a while I started playing around with, well, what if I did it more writing it in prose, and then you turn the page and it would continue the story maybe in panels, or here's a page that's half prose and half panels. And I realized that's actually harder than doing either of the forms. And I got to a point where, what if I just write it and heavily illustrate it, which I may go back to. But that's when I really got to the point where, wait a minute, at the core of this one anyway is this visual thing that at its core that is better suited for animation. So I thought I would spend all my time writing in retirement. But the other thing that happened, as opposed to just working through that stuff, is right when I retired was the first time I was invited as a guest to a comic convention, MomoCon at Atlanta.
Nice.
My friends like Glenn Keane, Ron Clemens, they want to see reaction to their work. They can go to a movie theater and they're sitting in an audience and they hear people laugh or cry or emote to what they've done.
Sure.
We had ratings which were very cold and way after the fact, or we got to do another season and that was fun,
Yeah,
but it
we
wasn't
have
until
Comic
then
Con
that I had. Yeah, you have fans coming up and saying, "This is what it meant to me as a little kid."
Right.
And I had in the very first con, I had two women come up, and then they met each other. They each cried separately, and they cried together. But saying that basically their home life was very rough, is what I'll say.
Okay.
And at the center of Darkwing is the bond between Darkwing Duck and his adopted daughter, Buzz Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
And I always made sure, I said, no, they love each other. Because they're both extreme characters, they drive each other crazy, but you should never question their feelings for each other. We got great stories out of that.
That's awesome.
And that really meant a lot to them. And on the last day of the con, I was talking to this dealer who had come over, and she came over to say, you know, I never watched cartoons as a kid. And that's a weird thing to say to a guy with animation all around him.
To an animator,
said, she says, except for Darkwing Duck. And she goes, I watched that all the way through until I went to high school. Wow. And I kind of told her what I just told you guys. And she said, I guess maybe that's why. And it's kind of like, sorry you had a crappy childhood. Glad I could help. You know, but anyway, you finally got to meet fans. But the thing about, you know, you're a guest, you get flown there, you get meals and stuff, and you have a table. Well, Disney owns all my characters, so I can't make prints, or as I shouldn't make prints anyway. I don't.
Right.
But I thought I'll do original artwork, which still isn't necessarily kosher, but you know, and not that they're going to hunt down, because Disney could shut down every comic convention there is with all if they wanted to. They have a perfect legal right to
between Star Wars and Marvel.
You cannot sell this. Yeah, exactly. And Disney, for that matter. So anyway, I knew it wouldn't be a problem, but I just thought that's a line I'm not going to cross. But that made me draw my characters from 30 years before over and over and over again. And I posted them, and some of my old crew said, wow, you've really gotten good. And I said, maybe I should have done this 30 years ago when I was working with you guys. But that really, suddenly I'm drawing constantly, and I'm interacting with fans because of my drawing. And then, so suddenly I went from writing with a little bit of drawing to drawing a lot with just a little bit of writing. Then, like I say, back end of last year, I started playing around with, I wanted to learn to paint. James Gurney, who does Donatopia, those books. He has 100 or more videos on YouTube about him painting and what he does, his philosophy, and he's got videos you can buy and all that. And that really got me started. And finally, I started with a watercolor sketchbook, and I'm trying to paint stuff from life. And then I got to a point where I actually, because I was only an art major for 1 year, and then my English teachers wanted me to move to English because of my writing, and I ended up saying, oh, this humanities major is new, and it sounds like I could combine both. And somehow all the art I took was all 3D art, like ceramics and all that, which worked out because my ceramics teacher took over the art department, and I had to say, Disney wants me to give them life drawings. And he gave me permission to sit on life drawing classes and help that because he loved Disney. He could do the goofy yell. So even that helped. But I didn't do painting and stuff like that. So I finally took an online course because I had money from the convention. I could buy supplies without worrying about it. And I could say, I'm going to take this course where the teacher actually interacts and looks at your stuff just to make sure I go through this thing. And it was like, some of the stuff is things I would never think to draw a vase of flowers, stuff like that. But going through it, I learned enough that then I could have fun. And like I said, I had this convention money that would let me buy the quality paints and things like that.
Suddenly you have cash in your pocket.
Currently what's exactly. So that's what I'm going through now. I'm posting, but you'll see posts of, you know, Darkwing Chippendale, and then
oh, that's cool.
Walking down an alley, you know.
What I found out too is, like, if you have this urge to create characters and you want to make everything with you want to make a movie, an animated series, comic book, what helps me is, like, I draw the character and put a description, almost like the Marvel Universe books used to do. And that's real satisfying to get the character down and their powers or their backstory. And I almost draw in like a style guide design. And then it's real satisfying if you just leave it at that. You know that you could base a story off of that little description. So that's real fun. That's kind of what you were saying, where you just write stuff down.
Well, I got to say, the most fun thing in my career is working with the crews. I'm both artists and writers, and spitballing stories and things like that. Mike Mignola,
Yeah, that's good stuff.
just a couple of days ago, he said, I rarely do commissions, but this is one I'm working on, and it was Batman.
I saw the Batman
with
one,
a
right?
giant, and with a giant Frankenstein with intestines coming out like that, and a big alien brain floating above him. And people said, "Where'd you get this idea?" And I said, "Well, I'm actually the one." They were saying, "What did the guy who commissioned you ask for?" He says, "Well, actually, the guy just said a bunch of things." They said, like, maybe, Batman and a Frankenstein, and monsters, or a werewolf and an alien brain. And here's how, again, Mike's head works. He said, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, wait a minute. If the alien brain was controlling the monster, okay. And it's just like, and I commented on the thread. I said, I love that another artist would just say, sure, I can come up with a cool image of an alien fighting Batman with a monster. You could just do it. But Mike had to have a reason they were there. And that I said, so yeah, it's like, oh yeah. And I said, that could be that's like saying the aliens are another interdimensional, and they need a body to, they need a way to interact with our society. And they stumble on this Frankenstein experiment, and maybe that alien, that portal was opened up by a secret society doing occult rituals and all that. I said, I love that. And Mike said, well, I didn't think that hard about it. But I just love that all Mike had to do is alien, had this great drawing. He says here's the alien controls the monster. And me knowing his work thought, oh, Victorian society there. And this is stuff he's done in his comics where he very much blends the idea of the occult with the ancient ones, which are supernatural, also alien. And just combine that. I miss that sort of thing of just start with a little idea or a character description, like you were saying, and saying, oh, that's how it would work. And it just how things fit together. It's like a puzzle. And in fact, with the paintings I've been trying, and again, I'm just learning, but I mean, they're landscape stuff. Cool.
Okay.
I know what you should be looking for in terms of composition and stuff like that, and I should be doing it outside, but because of COVID and everything else, and it's like I'm going to go out with my camera in the afternoon when the light's coming from the side, and that should be good. And I got a picture of this alleyway, and I said, okay, well, that has shadows going across and all that. I came back and I went, why do I want to paint an alley? And it was like this pivotal moment of, and it's like, I bought a lot of stuff. I better do this still. But just this idea came to me, and now if I know where it is, I will show it.
Oh, I want to see.
Cool.
This is great, man.
I want to see this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like
this
is a master class in Tad Stone's world.
Hey, man, this is why we hang out with Ted when we're in San Diego, man, and we love seeing him. Absolutely. This is great.
Yeah, except that the one I need is not here. You'll have to go to my website.
Well, you can paint it on air if you want.
Is it tadstones.com?
No, not that important. Just if you go on, that's ridiculous. I have it. Oh, it's because I'm doing another painting. It's standing in front of me on a pallet.
No problem. Don't ruin it.
Yes. So this is like a truck.
How do I isolate him, Francis, so we can see him?
Just click on his. There's a little large icon.
Okay, so I did this.
Hold on, Ted.
I did a picture. Okay.
It's going to make you large.
Yeah. Oh, is it on? It's on his thing. I see it.
Yes.
So I just do it. Like, here we go.
So I was doing
nice.
doing the alley, and I don't know where the idea came from, but I just thought, well, what if somebody was passing by the alley?
Yeah. Oh, I see it. I see the arm.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh,
that's excellent.
Love it.
So that was just like, okay, now I can have fun with that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of
that's
the next
cool.
one.
But see, that's the storyteller in you, and
yes.
Well, yeah,
I was looking at like that all the time.
I was looking at Western art, and I thought, oops, sorry. I was looking at Western out, and I was thinking, what if? And I was looking at some great, like James Reynolds is this fantastic artist.
Yep.
Anyway, here was a cowboy just kind of sitting with a herd as they're moving across. I said, what if they were a herd of giant bees? And I plotted out this picture of him doing that, and then I realized, because this is the sketchbook I work in, it's just a tiny thing. And I said, I should see if I can do one bee. And so,
there you go.
That's beautiful.
Just playing around with that. So
that's terrific.
He's just playing around.
So I don't want you to put it up if you don't want
this
to.
is actually, here is like,
well, let's see one more.
That's
Hold
like
on.
a normal painting, which I like doing.
Yeah.
And kind of a breakthrough. It's like, okay, those are the kind of shadows I do. It's like, would it be better with a Godzilla in the background? Maybe.
Wow.
Now on the other side, you have some writing. Is that notes for you to remember what to do, or is that part of the story that you're coming up with for the painting?
No, I don't do. No, it's basically because I'm hard on myself, and it's kind of just saying this is what I was trying to do in this painting. Just kind of like, if I survive a few years, going back and saying, oh yeah, this is why. It's almost like my wife does genealogy, and it's that thing of, what if somebody finds this in the future,
Right.
And hopefully it doesn't get tossed out by the kids as they're going through my stuff, with my Superman #1.
Got another sketchbook.
Anyway, it's just kind of notes to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a blog, and it's because when I was doing the Hellboy animated things, I was actually, they bought the website for me. Or actually, I take it back. They had me buy it, and then they reimbursed me. And it was Hellboy animated at TypePad. If you do Hellboy animated, animation veteran, TypePad, you'll probably find it. And what's cool about it, and I've actually continued paying for this every year, because to me it's an archive of animation development while it was happening. Every week I would say, here's where we are in Hellboy, and here's what we're thinking of doing. Here's our design philosophy. And I remember I had a post I did about retakes, when there's mistakes and you send it back to the studio with notes. And people said, that was fascinating. We've never heard of that before. It's like, well, it's kind of a boring thing, but okay. Anyway, I had so much fun doing that. When I left those projects, I said, I'm going to do my own one. So it's a spin-off of that. It's called Just a Tad. But again, it's
nice.
on type. And my thought was, I'm going to, as I work on different projects, I'll do the same thing. Well, the problem is, when you're working for somebody else on their projects, they don't let you put stuff online until it's on the air. It's the opposite of what I had of Hellboy. So I did general posts, and then it just petered out. It was like a cobweb site. And then finally, last year, I said, I'm going to make this, and because I even titled it kind of the creative process type of thing. And I now I post where there was Darkwing images or character shots or these paintings. I now basically, I don't know who I'm talking to, but it's because not that many people follow. But it's basically saying, this is what I was trying to do. This is where I think I failed. This is what I hope to do. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. Just documenting it for no good reason. But I talk to enough young artists that it helps them to say, here's a guy who had a long career, and he's still second guessing his creative choices. And
wow.
It's like,
yeah.
And it's like you learn. You always try to get better. It's like I've worked with, and not very long, but I've worked with like writers who felt like they knew everything, and those are never as good as the guys who are always looking for a way to learn. A different course they take in writing or something like that, or I'm doing this this course in detective fiction. It's like the guy's not going to write detective stories, but it's just a whole different type of writing that he wanted to explore. It's like that's, to me, no matter what age you are, that you're looking for a different thing to do. Now, I miss just like when I went through that Hellboy thing about the alien and all that. It's like, oh, that was fun. And that only took 5 minutes or less. It is kind of like, is there a way to do that? And again, my tendency these days would to say, would be to write something, because that goes fast, but heavily illustrate it, maybe with paintings. And it's one of those things where, do I publish it? Do I just put it out on Kindle? Or, again, you really can put stuff online. You can give it to an audience for free if you want to. And again, I'm in a lucky position where I'm not hurting for money, just because I'm old enough that I actually have like an industry pension.
It's pretty good.
That is like, that doesn't happen and never happened in the comic
Not anymore. Yeah, man.
So I'm very lucky in that way. It's not like I'm scrambling for it. Who knows what the future will bring? But I rather you write something to have other people read it. You draw for yourself, but in this business, you're storytellers. You're making a comic book. You're making a cartoon because I've got a story to tell. I gotta say, I love telling stories and making stories. So, So no, right now I'm not working on it. I've got all these other characters I've played with, but I'm not doing anything with them right now. Right now I'm basically working on this new skill set I want to develop. Yeah. But it's cool. Not unless I do the giant bee kind of thing. It's like, it's not the same kind of storytelling. But I gotta say, part of it is sometimes because I say, why do people keep painting hillsides, or something like that? And you realize, if you're trying to capture a certain kind of a light or certain colors, it's like a puzzle, which to me is what storytelling was. It's like, I've got these personalities, and I rarely had a story where I started with a theme or something like that. You might have to analyze it and say, well, what is the theme of this? Or what is the character trying to learn? But it's how things piece together, how these two personalities will interact. And to me, that was the fun thing is in those series. It's like saying, I've got this personality who's the worst person to have in his life. Oh, a little girl who refuses to stay at home.
Yeah.
There you go.
Who won't go to bed.
He's a superhero. Yeah, exactly. He's a superhero, and she's a handful. He loves her very much. She refuses to stay at home.
I found a great image, Tad, of Darkwing Duck, and this shows you where the merchandising was back in the day. So how about that? The Carnation Kids, Mr. Roni and cheese.
Mr. Roni, that's a different flavor.
That's actually a nice piece of artwork. Somebody just showed me a Hot Topic has a new Darkwing T-shirt, and it's one of those things. Great that you're still doing it. It's literally been 30 years next year. 2021.
Congratulations! That's amazing.
30th anniversary.
That's not as kids are grown up.
He and Wonder Woman have the same year, so he'll never get noticed at the convention.
No. But
anyway, they're still using images off the original model sheet. They just like move them around. They don't even put them in like size relationships, and it's just like, couldn't you pay somebody to maybe do one or two new drawings? You just seem to sell a lot of T-shirts.
Well, that's the sweet spot now, especially for the 30th anniversary, because now adult fans, and obviously you've already been experiencing it at conventions, and honestly, Scoot and Mike are grew up with your stuff and everything. I mean, they can talk as viewers and everything.
I always say the nostalgia window moves along, because now people are starting to ask for drawings more of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
Yes.
Yeah.
I usually don't do Aladdin or Hercules and stuff like that. And people say, why don't you? Those would sell a lot. I said, because they're really hard to draw. And two, those were created by my friends. That's Ron and John's characters. They're not mine. I technically did more minutes of animated Aladdin than they did, like multiple times, but it's still, they made the creation. Whereas Darkwing, Chip and Dale, those are guys, we recreated them in a new universe. as with Buzz Lightyear's team, Buzz wasn't ours, but the guys that we put with him, it's kind of like, oh, do I have to learn to draw those? But again, seriously, with the virus and all that, I'm not going to any cons this year, and who knows next year. The last con I went to was a very small one in Long Beach at the beginning of the year in January. And, you know, I had people come up to my table. It was no big deal. The previous one I did in Moscow, Russia.
Wow.
It was in October. When I was getting ready for it, they told me, well, we think you should draw for 4 hours and then sign autographs for 2 hours. I'm going, none of this made sense to me. It was like, well, no, people line up my table. Do you want me to come over to your table to make a bigger deal out of it? Because I'm thinking of San Diego. You leave your table, you go over to the Dark Horse booth, and you sign things at the Dark Horse. They said, no. And finally, I just said, you know what? You guys are the experts. I'll do whatever you say. And they, from thousands of miles away, I could hear their, I go there. Instead of a single artist table, there are 4 tables. They have blown up my artwork to a poster that is, I'm not going to exaggerate, I want to say
like the Berlin Wall,
10 feet tall. A little after their time.
Like a movie screen.
That's huge. There are 3 other people working the tables down there. And what they explained to me is when the Iron Curtain fell, the first cartoons they had ever seen from the West were DuckTales, Chippendales Rescue Rangers, Darkwing, and strangely, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Of course.
Yeah.
But before that, they didn't have serialized animation. They had great stories, but real limited animation, but they'd like be Russian fairy tales. So they'd just be a one-time thing. There was no ongoing series.
Sure.
And suddenly, these cartoons came in, and they said, every child of that generation watched your cartoons. It was called, here it was the Disney Afternoon. There it was the Disney Club. It was on weekends. And they would watch those shows. And then people would have bootleg tapes that they would sell at kiosks. And this wasn't, in that country, it wasn't illegal. It was just, no, you did that often with TV shows. So
That's
kids
what you
watched
did,
over
yeah.
and over and over again.
Wow.
So I was there. Batwoman told me, no, Batgirl, a cosplayer came up. I noticed, I thought, great costume. She comes swooping in as I'm in the middle of this line that's out the door, and she drops off these fancy chocolates, and it's like mixing genres, but who is that masked girl? I wanted to thank her. She evidently got back in line, and I talked to her when she got back up front, and then I said, are you sure? Afterwards, on the internet, she claimed she was in line for 5 hours to have me, and I didn't charge for autographs or anything. I would do little sketches. I was brought over there by a comics company, Bubble Comics, and I had done a variant cover for one of theirs with ducks. So they were selling that. They made a poster out of that, and all my stuff sold. I brought over Inktober sketches that I did of just pumpkins and things, and those things sold. Just cleaned me out, and people would come up and like I'd be standing with them, and they'd be shaking. And for a while, they said the line is so long that we need you to. What if you just stay seated and they come around behind you? We'll take the picture. And I said, I let them make the spiel, and then I said no. And I said, not only is it good for me to stand up constantly, but I said, when I stand up with them and pose in front of the big poster, I said, that's when they talk to me. And they tell me how much this meant to them.
Yeah.
And what they did, or they're a president of a fan club and that sort of thing.
That's great.
And then one of the nights, these two, I didn't see them come up, but 2 cops came up. And one guy is like this, this a brick wall moving down, except incredibly handsome. This wavy hair comes in and this, in this fur-lined jacket. And he comes up, and evidently they came up and they said, when will you guys be closing up? And the guys got very nervous because the police are here in the convention. And they said, "Oh, right at 6:30, it closes down." And they were trying to say that everything's. And they said, "No. We just want an autograph." And they said, "Oh, we'll bring you to the front." And they said, "No, people don't like the police enough. We don't want them to."
We'll wait in line.
I was waiting for a Darkwing Duck, baby.
And I just wish I had gotten a picture of me with them to go with the story. But they got pictures and everything. But that's what they said. They said, "See, every person in that generation saw it."
That's beautiful, man.
So that was, if that has to be my second to last convention, great. Because when you get a visa there, they tell you to get a business visa, which is good for 3 years. And they said, "We'd love to have you back." And I said, "You know what? That means my last year on the visa is 2021. That's Darkwing's 30th. We come back." But
that's a good way. That's a good mic
right
drop.
now.
Yeah.
But it's like
open, man.
right now. So, the idea of traveling on an airplane anywhere, but Russia has it right now. Right. And, again, we're in first wave. This is not the second wave. This is still the first wave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're still
and as they said, where the experts said, "Oh, yeah, it'll actually be a little lighter in the summer because of the heat, dries up droplets and all that." It's like, okay, if this is light, wait till the fall comes. And
Wait. And that's
so again, this may be the convention experience of Tad Stone's.
Is it? We're at a convention right now. Yeah.
Well, Tad, as John said, Skoke and I kind of grew up with Darkwing Duck. I know for me, I was 11, I think, when the show premiered, and I grew up with the Disney afternoon blocks
also,
there.
By the way, he's 12 now.
Yeah,
exactly.
But Darkwing Duck, especially because he was a superhero, and I was into superheroes. Well, crime fighter technically, but so thank you, because he was a big influence. The show was a big influence on the stuff I currently do. But I think what drew me to like Darkwing Duck specifically, and then I transitioned into Batman the Animated Series, was in the comics too, the Rogues Gallery that Darkwing had, and Steelbeak being one of my favorite villains. And as you mentioned early on, it started out as 00 Duck, and you could definitely see that Steelbeak kind of fit into that
he was Jaws,
James Bond. Yeah. But also like characters like Bushroot, who was a villain, and the Liquidator, but you kind of felt bad for those guys. And I thought you guys did a good job of more mature storytelling, even from DuckTales. Like Darkwing Duck was kind of like an evolution of those Disney shows. So I was just curious, what was your favorite villain to write in that time?
My favorites are Megavolt and Bushroot, because somehow there's such an effect. Bushroot just wants to be left alone. He tried to grow his own wife. He couldn't help it that she turned into a vampire potato. It was and Megavolt was so crazy, so insane. There were times when he'd work with Darkwing and always screw him over at the end. But Dan Castellaneta, who does his voice, was just so fantastic at that. You remind me of two things. One, going back to Russia thing. You love Darkwing because he was, crime fighter, superhero kind of thing, playing with those tropes. To Russia, they explained to me, they said, for us, it wasn't a parody because they didn't have superheroes before that. So take all the kind of Warner Brothers wild humor, the crazy inventions, but then imagine that you've never heard about Batman's Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
And here's this guy has these crazy villains that are there, and these weird ideas of super evolved heads, or it's like all the science fiction stuff, just on the level of Once Upon a Time. Here's a story that hit them, on top of all the superhero stuff. The other thing, just real quick, and the story is out there, but he was called 00 Duck. He was developing 00 Duck. He went through all sorts of different permutations. He was not based on a DuckTales episode with Scrooge McDuck where he was a superhero. There were guys working at Disney at the time who assumed that, but it was up to Jeffrey Katzenberg. Jeffrey Katzenberg ordered me to develop a show called 00 Duck. He liked the name. So it can't be Launchpad, who did the DuckTales episode of that. So I did a parody version. He hated it. I didn't like it. Luckily, he told me to do it again. Recently I thought, wait, the usual thing is to say I'll get somebody else to do it. But that, at a story brainstorming meeting, guys looked at the Dwayne Capizzi, who did like Men in Black TV show, and Alf was one of his shows before. Anyway, Dwayne said, boy, look, he's this character in a mask and a cape and a tuxedo. He reminds me more of a pulp hero.
Yeah.
And that, like the Green Hornet and the Shadow. And that,
Shadow, absolutely.
Again, I was not old enough to have experienced those except through fandom. I'd heard tapes and stuff like that. Loved all that stuff. So that suddenly said, oh, here's a different way of building a team to help this guy that isn't the James Bond typical things. Now, that team kept shrinking, before it became the story of a father and a daughter and a launch pad. Anyway, but that was there. He's called 00 Duck. We instantly, Cubby Broccoli, who is the producer who did all those, Sean Connery Bond films, had the rights, and they said, and Disney had already made cloisonne pins, had sold the show in many markets. They said, we own 00. It's not a thing. Ian Fleming invented it.
Wow.
So you can't use that name. So we had a contest, because once you've been using a name, I can't think in a different way.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Sure. Producing the show. We had a contest. My very cheap boss actually amazingly said, we'll give $500 to whoever comes up with the name. Cool. Back in 91, that was a lot of money. Even if $500 is a lot of money. But anyway, and everybody came up with alliteration: Deadshot Duck, Dead-Eyed Duck, Doofus Duck. Just until finally, one person came up with Darkwing. I loved it. I said, that's what he thinks he is, but I'm going to put Duck with it because that's the silly side. That guy was Alan Burnett.
Oh, yeah,
Alan Burnett
Batman.
got $500 and a few months later left to go to Warner's and be the story editor of the animated Batman show. So
I just had him on the show 2 months ago.
You did, You didn't, You don't know how deep the Darkwing went.
That's outstanding.
You thought you got away with Darkwing, but
yeah, one of the coolest things about Darkwing too was like his vehicles, like the rat catcher, the motorcycle, and he had that. What was the plane called that looked like his face? The jet.
Thunderquack. And all that comes from again. when I was a kid, growing up with DC Comics, that was the era of the Batmobile, which had the big fin in the back, a bat head on the front, and then there's the Batcopter that had a bat head on the front. And it's like, Batman
was like
couldn't do a piece of equipment without his face on it. So
they had Darkwing Duck figures back then too. The action figures, Darkwing's hat would spin if you did a thing. But they had the Thunderquack, and we could never find it. So I tried to build one out of cardboard, and I wish I still had the picture because it had like the hatch that could open. But that was like my favorite thing to draw, favorite thing to look at. I just thought that was brilliant. Yeah,
I love those guys on YouTube. There's guys on YouTube who have built a flying Thunderquack that's radio controlled. It actually flies.
That's awesome. I'll have to look that up.
Kevin Biggs said the gas gun was the best, and he always wanted one.
Yeah, the gas gun.
I love that we got the exclusive that Alan Burnett did the Batman show as a ripoff of Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, that's true. And inspired.
He's back to writing.
He's back to writing Batman too.
That's exactly right.
He's writing Batman again right now, isn't he, John? He's writing.
Yeah, they're doing the digital. Alan and Paul Dini are doing the digital Batman comic. It's definitely the animated series designs, and Ty Templeton is drawing it. Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Wow, they're going back to the old school. Yeah.
Oh yeah, home cooking, absolutely.
Home cooking, yeah. I like that better than old school.
You said something at the beginning, Ted. I wanted to go back to it. Did you say that you designed some Epcot rides, or did I miss?
I worked on the. Yeah, I went over to work on Epcot because I had done a animated educational film called Health and Alcohol Abuse. That I used old word Kimball characters actually of a caveman, the voice of reason, and emotion. Anyway, Epcot was basically supposed to be the same kind of thing, edutainment.
Sure. Yes.
Why? Somebody thought it was a good idea. Anyway, so I went over there and I worked, like I said, fantastic time with Ward Kimball, working on the World of Motion, which was kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, except going through the story of transportation. It's no longer there. Then I worked with Tim Delaney on the Space Pavilion. You'll notice there is no Space Pavilion, but I did get to meet George Lucas. That was fun. Especially, we had one luncheon the first time he was there, and we had it in a conference room, and it was fried chicken. I remember, here's all these executives. Ron Miller, Walt's son-in-law, says, "No, here we eat the chicken with our fingers," and all that. It's like,
Do you have hot
that's
sauce?
what I would do, but no.
Oh,
But
all right.
here's the thing: I sit down and I'm right across from George Lucas, and everybody else is like, except for Tim, is like too cool for the room. They're all older, and I said, "I'm sorry, but all my friends in animation would kill me if I don't ask you about Star Wars." He said, "Oh yeah, sure." He told me that there were 9 stories, where later he denied it. He said there was just 6. He said there was 9 stories. And he said, and this is, didn't mean it in the same way, but he said, nobody will like the first 3.
Wow.
And because he said that's going to be like a political drama. And then he said, and then we wait till Mark Hamill is aged up enough that he'll be like an Obi-Wan character in the last 3. And that's, so I always remember that. The funny thing, years later, I'm thinking, if you're actually saying nobody will like the first 3 and you haven't even written them, maybe you could write them in a way that people would like them.
Yeah, make them good.
Maybe raise that bar a little bit when you're writing. No, that was great. And then after that, the pavilions had to be sponsored, and no space company like Northrop or whoever had the money to blow on a pavilion in Florida. And then I got to work with Tony Baxter, one of the top designers at Disney World and Disneyland. And Tony designed Thunder Mountain and the whole line of fantastic rides. So I worked with him on the Imagination Pavilion. And, we did, Figment was already invented visually and the idea of his character, but I worked on him and just, again, very much in a Disney way. It wasn't all writing. It was like drawing ideas. It was building little things on a model. It was, that was a kind of a great time, a great experience there. And then I left, and I remember Tony saying, because I didn't stay with the transportation ride and work to see it built. Instead, I went to the space thing, and then I went to Imagination. And they called me back. I was supposed to do these Epcot documentaries. And, Tony said, "Oh, you're missing the fun part. This is when you get to build the ride." Well, I had left, wasn't that long after that. Now that we've sold it, it's like, this ride is way too much like Disneyland. We have to make it more Epcot. The ride came out great, but it was kind of like, it didn't fit in with the rest of the park. That was
It's too fun.
So it was mostly, So, and Figment was like one of the most popular characters of the park. They tried taking him out. They had to put him back in. That was a fun time. But he used to be blue-green, but the Sherman Brothers wrote the song, and they wanted to rhyme. They wanted to call him Purple Pigment. So he became purple, and purple became a big color in my career. So
purple's good. I like purple.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the Sherman Brothers names earlier when you were talking about like Little Mermaid and making songs to fit the scenes and everything.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you know, Ted, but the Harley Quinn animated adult cartoon just wrapped up its 2nd season, and they had a great Under the Sea parody that they made.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
I haven't seen that because I don't have the DC Universe thing, but the director, and I think she's also a producer on that show, Jen Coyle, was actually my director when I was on Bob's Burgers, and Jen worked for me on the Hellboy animated shows.
That's awesome.
And then I actually did a pilot when I was there. That was for Disney Junior, and Jen was, so by day I worked for her when she was a director on Bob's Burger, and by night she worked for me on this pilot I had that we produced.
That's cool.
But no, I've heard it's just fantastic. I hear nothing but awesome things about it. So.
Would you ever, as you learning and doing oil painting and stuff, and as a broadcaster, the fact that software exists and I could have my home studio, as opposed to when I was a kid thinking, all right, if I save like 10 grand, I can build a home studio and everything. And now, I can just open a laptop and do what I want to do. Would it ever interest you to do your own animation with software, or is it like, no, I already did that, thanks anyway, not interested?
Two things. One, I do gouache painting. It's like water-based. And what I liked about it is like it's basically an undo button. You can paint over things. You can't see them anymore.
Sure.
And it dries. It dries in a few minutes. So oil paints take a long time to cure, I guess. So I have no experience in oil. But in animation, every once in a while, it's like, and there's some now out there, it was like, I would like a very, very simple program just to animate on the level of flip book. But usually that passes pretty quickly because way back at the beginning of my career, you know, I was there to be an animator, and the way you got ahead once you made it through the testing period, you were just an in-betweener, and then you had to do scenes in your spare time to go in front of the review board to try to move up. And we still had movieolas in our rooms there, and I was like, we had seen some screening of stuff, and I said, well, that's not far off of things. I kept coming up with better ideas. So it's like I put this project aside and then do another one. And again, that's all in your spare time, or I get too ambitious and whatever. And I had an old test on the movieola, and the manager of the department came by, and I said, hey, Ed, look at this for a second. I said, I've got this old test. I'm thinking, is this worth finishing up and showing to the review board? And he looked at it, and he said, that's great. He said, you don't have to finish it up, just show it as is. And I said, really? Oh, that's great. Feeling pretty good. And then he goes, yeah, we had kind of given up on you.
Jesus.
It's kind of like, you think that could have come up in like a 6-month review or something?
Yeah.
You mentioned like, hey, are you going to do a personal test? You know, but they just thought, oh, I guess it's not going to work out. You know, he's just that guy who talks a lot. I showed the test. I think I moved up to assistant animator, but which was great. I actually have one little scene in The Rescuers.
Cool.
But that's when I realized that analyzing what I had done, it's like, oh, I was having more fun coming up with what the characters did than making them do it, which I still was enjoyable to me. I still love just flipping pages on a drawing board to watch them animate. And that's when I said, oh, that's story. And in Fox and Hound, I got to move into story and work with stuff. And I did a couple of sequences. But that was back in the time where there was like 6 title cards for credits, and credits were kind of at the whim of directors. And I worked for the old director, and he was moved off, and the new guys came in. So I didn't get credit there. It didn't bother me until they decided to give credit to a fictitious worm. The credits came up, and it's like Squeaks as himself. And it's like, really? Because you're just talking about a little space on a thing. And I actually did work on this, you know. So
Crazy.
I eventually got over it. You can tell from my voice, right? So yeah, I mean, I bounced all around Disney. It's like every year and a half, I actually found myself in a different job, or sometimes a different part of the company, to the extent where I think there were times where they didn't know what to do with me. And luckily, they didn't show me the door then. And then I got in TV animation, where my show basically changed every year and a half, 2 years, 1 year, or I was in development and stuff like that. And it just suited me more to be coming up with a lot of ideas for a lot of different stories than working on one story for 3 years, 4 years.
Sure.
On the other hand, every time a feature came out done by my friends, it was like, oh, should I have stayed a feature? And like, who knows if I had survived there, because I look at a lot of guys who were in story back then at the beginning who didn't. They ended up leaving the company and all that.
Ted, can I throw a name at you? I'm wondering if you might have worked with this animator during your time at Disney. His name was Ron Husband. Did you ever work with Ron? Okay.
Yeah, I know Ron. Yeah, Ron came in, I want to say, year or two after me, something like that.
He was really nice to me. I was just a couple years out of college, and I was an aspiring animator. I was out in LA visiting a friend, and a friend of ours connected us with Ron and set up a meeting with the three of us at, I want to say it was Disney TV Animation at that building. But Ron took about an hour and just talked with us about what he does in his job, because both of us really wanted to be animators. So it was a big deal for us to be able to talk with somebody who was doing the work we wanted to do. And it was really nice of Ron to take the time to talk with us. So, you talk about leaving notes for future generations and having a blog and sharing your process. You never know who you're going to be inspiring. So I think it's great that you do that.
Oh, yeah.
I actually brought up the website Tad to show, and unfortunately, it knocked me out of the broadcast. So I'm gun shy about trying to do it again because But anyway, go on. You were about to.
If people want to see my work, generally wherever I'm online, I'm under my name. So whether it's Facebook or Instagram, if you look for Tad Stones, you'll stumble on me.
And also for the chat, I will put the URL. I'll put the URL in for the Hellboy blog, the typepad.
Oh, great
thing.
Yeah.
So I'm doing
like
that
I
right
say,
now.
there's the Hellboy, and then Just a Tad is also on typepad, and it's got a weird. I can't just give you a website address because I think it starts with Hellboy Animated. But again, you search within it, you'll find it.
Oh yeah, you'll find it.
So yeah, all my artwork, what I'm doing on, whether it's Disney stuff or my paintings, is going to be on Instagram. Facebook is pretty much the same thing. Twitter, kind of the same thing. I realize a lot of times I'm on those things all the time, but I realize, I don't post that much. So it's I go to post something, I realize that was my last post.
There he is.
And
Mighty Mike's back. Yeah. I have this. I have this character that I just that I was inspired from this. Podcast, and I want to show him to you.
Hold on, I'm going to isolate you.
Make him big.
All right.
Oh, there he is.
He's Tad. His name's Darkwing Tad. He can draw in the dark.
There you go.
That's a superpower, and he make things move. That's what he could do.
Oh, I like that.
That's him. And here he is, close up.
Give me $500. Give me $500 and I'll name him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's outstanding. Are we keeping you from dinner, Tad? I realize it's 7:00 your time.
Oh, maybe for a while.
I mean, honestly, we love this. We're hanging on every word. This is the best and most quiet podcast I think we've ever experienced, and truly, it's been a delight. Because seriously, man, you're telling amazing stories.
People are going to get pissed off. They're going to say, "Wait, I tune in for guys talking all over each other and yelling."
This is an interview show. Yeah.
No, this is great. This is great for us because, unlike you, this is what we're banking on for our pension. So we can stay here for like 5 or 6 hours. If you have to go, please.
Tad, in August, and I will ask you on the air, and you don't have to answer, but I want you to think about it. I'm going to do an online con called Mainframe Comic Con, and I know they would love to have like a panel with you talking about Darkwing and these kinds of stories and stuff. And I can give you more information and text it to you, but I just wanted to kind of put it in your head. August 15th and 16th, and it's going to be a great show, and a lot of it's just like a regular convention. A lot of live action actors and animation people, and of course comic book people, and God, they're getting incredible guests and everything. So
Johnny's trying to poach our guest again. It's awesome.
So I'm putting you on the spot. I just want you to think about it. So. See, and there you go, man. Look at this. Honestly, like Wayne. And we're not saying goodbye if you want to hang out, but yeah, honestly, man, you could tell everybody's loving. Wayne wants you to get angry. Can't get angry. Ted's telling great stories, man.
This time. It's throwing me off. We don't have angry Yoka chips.
So yeah.
Here we have to.
Oh wait, hold on, Mike.
There you go. That's better.
There you go.
Dry roasted vampire.
Yeah, exactly. He's about to give me the 3rd degree or kill vampires. One of the two. So yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, again, if you're hungry, we'll
no way
let
to
you go.
zoom
But...
in. I was gonna...
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I was gonna say, let's see what's behind it.
I can't pick up the computer and like carry it closer.
No, but I'm gonna say, do it.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah. The tall ones are all. I guess I can do this. The tall ones are all maquettes that were made by Kenny Tompkins, who was one of our character designers.
Nice.
And as he went through, he got better and better. So there's only a few sets in the world like
Cracker
this
Jack.
because a lot of times people just bought each one. But yeah, that's Bushroot. A couple of things, by the way. People look at and it'll show up on a wrong wiki or something, but they think Bushroot was patterned after Poison Ivy and Liquidator was Hydra Man. And it's like Hydra Man happened when I was out of comics, like in my college years, I think.
Okay.
And I said, no, I can tell you exactly who the Liquidator was based on, Sandman. Because in 4, I want to say, Sandman like went down drains to escape as sand particles.
Yes.
And Spider-Man defeated him by mixing concrete in with him and getting him wet. And I think we did the same thing with Liquidator. And Bushroot was patterned after two things. A little bit of Swamp Thing. The idea of being, you could chop him up and he could survive. And we did an episode called Twin Beaks that he was the body wrapped in plastic. And it's because the idea that it was just a husk, that he was a plant who could leave behind part of himself and regrow. But he was actually based on Plant Man in Strange Tales, who actually first fought the Human Torch in a big floppy hat, like Darkwing's and a cloak. But that's when trees, he could have cactus throw thorns, and trees would swat at him, and the idea that plants would come to life, along with, I'm sure, memories of the trees in Wizard of Oz.
I was gonna say, how would you like it if somebody picked apples off of you?
Exactly. And then when he came back, I think he only had 2 appearances. He was in a ridiculous leaf costume with big leaves as his background. So here's the Hellboy from our show.
Yeah.
I'll pivot.
And he's got shorts.
Yeah.
I like the
Hellboy
tour.
does have shorts, yeah.
This is very person to person. Yes, Tad, what's in your study?
This
wow.
is my,
Ape Sapien. Mm-hmm.
that's what you call original Mike Mignola artwork.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
There's a glove up there,
Don't
too.
chip on my
There's
computer.
only one
That
glove,
is
if you
a-
notice. In tradition of
That
that
is the-
Yeah.
That is the oven mitt of doom.
I love it. Was it really an oven mitt? That's fantastic.
I
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. That was done by a fan friend. And actually, I got to say,
Johnny left that glove in your hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Glove.
Johnny
When I
wants to
visited
pan
Dad.
over and show his glove.
There's
now.
either one glove or 3. There's never an even pair. There's 3 gloves.
this is the one piece of artwork that when I'm gone, I hope I'll have donated to like the Comic Art Museum in Oakland or San
nice.
Francisco. But I don't know if you can see, this is out of it's all sorts of glare, obviously.
No worries, man.
This is from the island.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Oh, sure.
But you can just see
Nice.
it's great because it is a page that was a silent page.
Yeah.
So there didn't have to be word balloons. So this got to the point where it was the balloons were added in Photoshop. Which isn't as cool to see them pasted on. But this is amazing. My wife bought it for me, and she doesn't know Hellboy, so
The
I
negative
put it on
space
the
is
page.
incredible. Yeah.
It's-
How about that animation cell behind your chair, Ted? If that's what it is.
Yeah. That is actually a. Actually, now I have a light. I can show. That is just a cell made by my staff as a gift to me.
Nice.
That's awesome.
It's too far away. What is it of? I can't see it. I
Launchpad.
gotta-
It is
Launchpad and
it's Darkwing, Launchpad, and Goslin.
Beautiful. Outstanding.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I
There we
like
go.
it. I like it. I like it.
Exactly.
I see you got the Wednesday comics back there and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that great DC
Oh, yeah.
collection. Yeah.
I actually have them in the.
In the newspaper?
Over here, I have the news. I have the newsprint edition. over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And
There's a-
Oh wow, they have it in a book.
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
little
I
there's a little tiny
always
Titans Robin
connect
face
that
in
with.
it.
I always use that as a story about bad comic shops because I went to a comic shop here in town, and I was getting Wednesday comics, and the guy helping said, "Why would you want to buy this?" And it was the discussion going on at the time about its newsprint, it costs this much, and the quality, and all that.
Sure.
And it's kind of like, a good business model usually doesn't have the clerk talking a customer out of buying something.
Yeah.
Kind of basic 101. So, you never tell. And I did not go to that comic shop again.
There you go.
I would drive down, into the San Fernando Valley where they've got Golden Apple Head. Or no, it's Earth Comics. It's a Mark Waid store.
Yeah, they don't judge your
As a
purchase.
satellite shop.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly. And,
I'll take
but
this. Good choice.
I got to say, I was out of work for a year and a half there for a while before I ended up on Bob's Burgers.
On Bob's, yeah.
And you get out of the comics habit. You say, well, I can't afford this. I got to cut comics out.
Sure.
And, I've told people, I said, you want to stop collecting comics? Buy them one at a time. Because when you have a pull list, you say, well, here's $30 or $40,
sure.
You're taking home a stack of comics. When you buy one comic at a time, and it's like $4,
yep.
It's like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, how many of this? And then suddenly it's like real easy to drop things. Anyway, I got out of that. I got out of the habit, so now it's more like I hear about a graphic novel or I stumble on.
Honestly, guys, with the latest group of creators, and certainly during the pandemic, as much as we do, and we all want to support shops, but man, I'll tell you, the price of a floppy is certainly under discussion, and that the publishers are thinking about it as well. Joe Pruitt from Aftershock was even telling me that it's like, I kind of want to offer a product that is more than 20 pages, but is, a fulfilling read. And certainly with DC, with the Black Label and those comics being $8, but they're like 60 pages and stuff. I really think that the future of the floppy is really precarious right now. That's my observation.
Comics has always had that thing of perceived value. And it used to be way before my day, but you get 52 pages for a dime.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
That makes sense. Here's a dime. I get this big chunky thing, and it's going to keep my kid quiet for X amount of time.
Right.
Still, when beginning of the Silver Age, comics were still a dime. And then right when I started collecting Marvel seriously is right about when they quickly jumped to 12 cents, which is a weird price. 12 cents for the longest time, and then 15.
Yep.
And then around when they were 25 is, I think, when I went to college, and I had a friend buying them for me back home, and then it was like, don't worry about it. And then I didn't get back into it, frankly, until I went to TV animation, where the guys had a weekly trip to the comic store habit.
Yeah,
sure.
But it's always about, again, perceived value. And a lot of, when I got back into comics, I traded in a bunch of comics I didn't care about, but I realized to them, these are old comics. So I traded them in, and it just gave me a lot of trade-in value. So I could go in and experiment in the big black and white, era of, Ernie Turtles and Mr. X, and what are some of the other ones?
Yeah.
Monster. It wasn't black and white, but that era,
sure.
Epcot Man and all that. I could just experiment because I was getting stuff free. But now I just feel like, and this is an old conversation, as much as comic stores saved the industry, if they turned more into bookshops where it was like, a publisher gave a writer and artist an advance and said, here's what it is, make a comic, and then we publish it, and it's a big, hefty story. Like, obviously, you have something like Black Sad.
Sure.
This is just gorgeous artwork, fantastic stories, and it's like, wow, that's worth, and it's going to stay there for a while. And, buying something for kids that basically, well, you guys, I assume, comics, when you collect those together, those things are eternal.
Yeah, they're evergreen. They stay on a shelf, and we have new kids coming all the time, like to buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it stays there. It's fresh every time. It's like, I always compare it to like Dora the Explorer. Like you always get a new 4-year-old every year. Another kid turns 4, they start watching TV. That's why she's been on the airs for 40 years, whatever, 20 years.
40 years.
But that's what it's like. I know I watched that show for 8 years in a row. I had all my kids.
She's all old, exactly.
So Comics never gets old, and we constantly get messages and letters from kids who their favorite hero is Action Cat, and it's been. And I think Action Cat debuted. Yes, I think Action Cat debuted in 2012, so it's still a thing. It's been 8 years already, and Action Cat's still progressing, still carrying its own life. So even though we haven't done a book in a few years,
he froze.
Problem with dropping your glasses on a messy floor like that is you really can't see them.
Oh yeah,
I think Action Cat. I mean, again, to have a character note, and a brother pass it to his little brother, and being in the family, and to hear it is like Action Cat, it's just that's something special.
Well, I mean, you think about it.
I like what you did with Batman.
Yeah, we did Tiny Titans, and before that, we were doing Patrick the Wolf Boy. So we've been doing this since the '90s, and every year we get 4 and 5-year-olds coming up to us. And I'm like, well, you obviously weren't reading these things in the 90s. So it's got to be happening somehow. It's got to be happening from the parents. It's got to be happening from brothers and sisters. And every year we have new fans.
But even the adult, even the adult product is moving to the graphic novel model. I literally today, not to name drop, but I just talked to Charlie Adler from Walking Dead. And his next project, he's doing something with it's either Rob Williams or Robbie Morrison, another British writer. And they are designing a graphic novel that I'm like, are you going to serialize it? He's like, nope, 120 pages.
Yeah.
We're working on it. We haven't even shopped it yet, but, we'll find a home. And, I mean, that's, again, and I mean, obviously Walking Dead, one of the last great floppies that, would sell constantly and everything. But it's interesting that everyone is kind of thinking that way.
It seems to be the way to go to get a book done in one where they could buy one graphic novel or 120 pages, and if they choose to find it on the next one, they could. But it's easier to complete a story and don't leave them hanging, And you could, and even if they jump in on book 4 or whatever, they still get it. It's still not. It could be their first comic, and we go into that when we create comics. That this book we're working on could be a little kid's first comic, so I don't want to intimidate them by now they have to collect the first 20 to understand what this is. So that's what it's real different to create comics these days. That's what's always a thought in my mind.
It's definitely.
And it's like Stephen King does a good job of making some money, putting out a book every once in a while. And you can kind of do with serialized versus done in one, even if it's a novel. I thought Old Guard was fantastic. I saw a little bit of your interview with Greg, and that was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. And then at the end, there's this little thing that happens where you go, "Oh, I want to hear that story."
Yeah,
and it's not like it has to be. Doesn't have to be a soap opera, like current comics are. It's like you can really tell this meaty thing and say, I want to hear the next part, or just, even if it's just like we did at the end of our Hellboy movie.
Well, Greg told us it's
a Phantom Claw,
Yeah.
Greg told us it was built as a potential 3-movie deal. Yeah. So if people who are watching haven't watched Old Guard yet, it's a great, as Ted said, great espionage action film. Charlize Theron, the entire cast is just outstanding. And it has this great little tag, like a Marvel movie. Because it really isn't. It's been described as a superhero movie, and it's like, no, it's a comic book movie because it's based on Greg and Leandro's Image book, but it really is very grounded in reality with a hint of immortality. It's kind of Highlander if they all turned into mercenaries in the modern era.
I was going to watch it this weekend, but Tad gave away the ending, so I'm not going to.
I believe I just said, and then this. It was weird because he talked about it being sold as a comic book movie, but other than saying based on the graphic novel, if you watch the trailer, if anything. And I think when I saw the first one, I thought, is this about is this a vampire thing or something? Because in the trailer, you see people get shot and then they stand up. It's like, okay, last guy I saw that was Dracula.
Zombies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's great.
By the way, real quick, and sooner or later, I should go out and eat.
Yeah, whenever you
okay,
you can stay longer.
I keep seeing trailers for all these movies, and I'm watching Morbius and obviously Black Widow, Winter Soldier, and the Falcon. I guess have been put off again, and I'm sure part of it is they have to finish filming, but the other part is probably like because they say, oh, it's really set in the events of the Marvel Universe. Well, it kind of backs everybody up. It's like, when are we going to get to see this stuff? You know? And I was so happy that something as quality as Old Guard showed up on Netflix. That's like, great, I get to see this.
Yeah, that's cool.
It seems like say it again, Ted. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, obviously, sitting in a movie theater is a whole different experience as far as presentation.
But it seems like the streamers
directed a feature film, I could see it. But
it seems like the streamers are best equipped, at least in the immediate moment, because they do keep this stuff in inventory and slowly dole it out. Because I know they finished the Old Guard back in January completely. And they were just waiting. Or another buddy who will eventually be on Word Balloon, Joe Henderson, the showrunner for Lucifer, season 5 and 6, as I understand it, they're breaking it up in half. And there's going to be 8 episodes, and then they're going to take a break and then show the other 8 episodes. And that's done. And they finally just did announce the premiere being in August and stuff. So, yeah, it's honestly, I mean, nobody wants this to happen. As a broadcaster myself and a broadcast nerd that follows the business, I find this fascinating. Oh, I'm nerd anyway. You're right. No, you know.
Well, animation, Netflix has had such an effect on animation in that they are, with their money, they bankrolled a lot of. I mean, Glenn Keane has a movie with them, I think, who just put out a trailer, and it's like, wow, they got Glenn's heart on the screen. That's fun.
Yeah,
but they've done. People ask me, oh, they think they're giving me a compliment, and they say, oh, I grew up with your shows. They're so much better than the crap that's on now.
Yeah.
Like, realize I've heard that exact comment every
generation,
5-7 years.
Sure, bud.
And the thing that people are calling crap is the thing the next guy says, it was great back then. Now the crap that's on.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you ever get, like, when you visit family, do you ever get that old family guy that you never heard from a while? They always say, hey, you still drawing? Do you ever get that? They get that all the time. You still drawing?
I'm old enough now. There's not that much.
Don't they know? But they have to do it with their hand. Still drawing? And I'll say, yeah, a little bit.
or do you get that? Is there any real money in cartoons or comics?
Yeah.
You know,
What else do you do to make money?
See,
You draw like freehand? They always say that. Freehand. Did you draw that freehand?
Yeah.
Oh, that was it. There was that time where people say, well, computers do all that now, right?
Yeah.
By having my first job at Disney, it's kind of like a company buying a studio and seeing The Simpsons on the wall.
Yeah.
You pass over a lot of that stuff, you know. People say, oh, Disney, I've heard of that, you know. The Walt guy. Is he still alive?
I taught kids broadcasting in the first or the last semester that just wrapped up in May, and one of my kids wanted to do a short audio piece, and he said, I want to compare modern animation to old school animation. And of course, as we all would think, I'm like, oh, like Bugs Bunny, the Flintstones, whatever. Yeah. And he's like, stuff like Dexter's Laboratory and Ed, and Eddie. And again, it's a 20-year-old kid. Yeah. So the stuff he was watching in the early 2000s, that's old school to him. So I get it.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing.
When I see stuff on out, there's like
that's funny.
2 shows I talk about. One I just love. I've actually watched 3 times, where there's plenty I haven't watched. But it is based on graphic novels. Hilda. A show on Netflix. It is such a charming show that showcases the animation. Starts out certainly in the credits, they don't explain anything. It's just like, what is this world? And you just flow with it. But this little character is so charming, and she has a story that flows throughout the season. It is just fantastic. And then Rad Seacrest, Kipo and the World of the Other Beasts. Something like that. If you look KIPO,
Okay.
look on that on Netflix. And again, a science fiction, not near future, hopefully, where animals seem to be in control of the surface world, and they've all mutated in strange ways, and the humans are underground in burrows or slaves to these things. And it is an ongoing story where characters really change from, hero to villain, or villain to maybe a hero, back to, it's the kind of thing that you can't pitch in a one line. And it is the type of thing that Netflix can do, because they'll believe in a person, or they'll put it in their logarithm, and it's like, oh, you've got these credits, and the concepts in the show are this, this, and this, and yeah, that's worth this amount of money. Can you make it for that amount of money? It's like, yeah. So,
yeah,
I'm just waiting and they've done a lot of it that they haven't released yet, but they basically went to studios and said, so what's your dream project that you can never sell at your own studio?
Right. You got to let the creator go. Let him explore. Let him go.
And I love that. And people ask again about my own work. I love the new DuckTales. I mean, I got to know the crew. I just introduced myself and went in and visit. And they recreated Darkwing, whereas my Darkwing, again, Silver Age, famous for not having continuity. Their show is very much, as I say to people, I said, no, I did the show for the last century. They're doing it for this century.
The new millennia. Yeah.
And so their show is heavy continuity and finally is in order on Disney Plus. But how they reintroduced Darkwing is like, and I knew their plans that are coming out, and sure enough, fans reacted in just the way I thought they would. I mean, you see this Darkwing as this old show that Launchpad grew up watching. You realize it shaped his life. But Darkwing's secret identity was Drake Mallard, and this character isn't named that. So people still think that's the old Darkwing. They're making fun of the old Darkwing. They're telling stories about the old Darkwing, or in that universe, he's just a TV show. And it's like, pay attention to the name. The name's not there. And then sure enough, they tell the story of they're going to do a new Darkwing movie. So basically, in the DuckTales universe, Darkwing Duck is like Batman 66 that inspired Launchpad. And they're going to do a new Batman movie, and it's Edward White did the voice, but it's based on Christopher Nolan, but it's this very dark, tale of
cool.
The evil Darkwing. They want to come back. And then I won't spoil it for just anybody who looks up the episode.
I was going to watch it this weekend.
You see
I
let it go,
man.
The new Franco.
You see the new Darkwing, the old Darkwing. They recreate some villains. It's just fantastic. And I know what's left. Disney always does this thing where they play a X amount, and then they want a big hiatus, and then they want to blow through like 7 episodes, one a day, and just so who knows when the next one will come out. But Darkwing will come back. They'll introduce Goslin, the new version of Goslin, to the show. So I'm looking forward to that. They did just, they're doing it in a modern way where they have a writer's room and they plot out the season and arcs and what they want to do. If we get to do a second season, we'll pay this off here and all that. There's things that they did, and they cast with like, you only have 2 lines in that episode, which seems beneath this guy that you're paying to do. They say, but wait till season 3.
Yeah, he shows
and
up.
It's like, oh, now you're a huge thing.
He's going to say something every episode.
So anyway, it's just, they did such an incredible job with it. The first time I visited, the writers said, how big was your writer's room? I went, writer's room? People came into my little office and pitched ideas. I took them apart. We talked about it. And if we came up with something we liked, they went home and wrote it up. And I pitched it. That was the amount of time we had. So.
That's awesome, man.
No writer's room. So.
Pat Schumacher, the co-showrunner of Harley Quinn, told me about his writer's room and everything. And yeah, man, I mean, God, we've literally done hours of minutia of each episode of Harley Quinn and stuff in my conversations with him this year. Yeah, very interesting. I know it's a different world, man. And also so many of these ideas during the pandemic, they are transferring to animation. And thank God for things like DC animation that finally is allowing the North American audience to realize, no, you can tell a good serious story along with the fun, along with the comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
I
Anyway.
still would have never imagined that Harley Quinn would have, that Warner Brothers Animation would have let a show like Harley Quinn exist. It's brilliant. I finally finished it. I loved it, but even as little as 3 years ago, I would have never imagined it. Like,
Totally agree. Yep. Amazing.
Yeah, because it again, everybody's trying different stuff. But yeah, in previous years they'd say that harms our IP. We can't sell toys if she has a potty mouth.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Well, you know, and honestly,
people dying.
and she has lots of relations.
Oh, does she?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not allowed to watch that then.
it's too adult. Yeah, it's too adult for you, Artie.
Can't do it. Yeah.
No, I understand. Ted, I feel bad. Go if you want. Go ahead and have dinner if you'd like. I mean, it's
Thank you.
again.
All right. Otherwise, I can't go on for hours, but I probably
We could
should.
eat right on the
Well,
air.
this is an excuse to have you back to talk about Bob's because and also so many of the other. I mean, Buzz and all the TV shows that you've done beyond Darkwing and stuff. But seriously, dude.
Darkwing
literally,
Beyond.
We were hanging on every word, and this
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah,
And
you're
I'm so
awesome.
glad you did this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to be
And I-
clear,
Yes,
on Bob's Burgers, and I don't draw those characters. I did one at a convention. Just
Oh, one
sketched
sketch.
it out.
But I
'Cause
know
on
we
Bob's
met at.
Burgers, I was a storyboard guy, and so I don't draw those characters at conventions because again, they're not mine, and I'm not good at drawing them.
That's cool because I remember we met at hanging outside, waiting for a table at a restaurant in Denver, and you were out
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
And me and Franco put our name in, and we came back out, and I didn't know who you were, and Franco told me that's the guy. He created Darkwing Duck. His name's Ted. It's like, oh, cool. Let's go talk. And then I remember, I think like we each had a 2-guy table, and it was easier to get 4. I can't remember if we ate together. I don't remember what happened, but I
We were
remember
sitting next to
out.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember standing outside talking, and that was real cool. And I remember that like it just happened. That was
I
really
remember
cool.
before that, I hit your table at San Diego.
Did you?
but You had somebody else helping you, so neither one of you were there. But
Oh.
he gave me like a free copy of Wolf.
Wolf Boy.
Wolf Boy,
Patrick,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Jimmy the
hilarious.
Muscle,
Yeah,
probably.
Patrick. That's I knew it wasn't just Wolf Kid.
Yeah, Patrick the Wolf Boy, yeah.
Yeah, but that
Well, that's cool.
I just love that.
I was
stuff.
telling my family because we were eating dinner at 6:00, and I said, I want to get on there this time. I really want to be on the show.
Oh, I'm glad.
And I
buddy.
told him the story, like, I want to finish before 7. I want to get up on there. Yeah.
Well, and Tad, seriously, you were one of the first pros to come to me so early in Word Balloon and be like, "Hey, I'm listening," and it was absolutely, it floored me, and it was so great because you are like, "Hey, I'm doing these animated Hellboy movies, and I want to talk." I'm like, it would be a pleasure, and I know the iFanboy guys felt the same way. So truly, it really means a lot when
It does.
the pros know
There's
what
a
I'm
couple-
doing and like it.
And I'm sorry, and there's a couple of times I've given you contributions in persons, but
Yes,
the
you
iFanboy guys, I've been with them early on, and there's a couple of times I sent them a box of comics of just old stuff. They got some of those old cowboy comics and Disney
Oh,
comics.
that's great.
Josh Flanagan has, and I had a complete set of Iron Man, and I broke it to give him the first Hawkeye appearance. That's the
Wow.
one comic that he has framed up on his wall.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So, no, those have been great guys. But I was just about to say, it's like I used to listen to you religiously, but what changes is I don't drive anywhere anymore.
I
When you
understand,
drive
buddy.
to work, you have this amount of time. So you say,
Sure.
I'm listening to these podcasts. And then I retired and the world changed. And suddenly I'm listening to all sorts of political podcasts and ranting about that. And it's like I've never read them. I subscribe to Washington Post, and it's like I never used to read the newspaper, and it's like I'm not even hitting the comics page. What's wrong with me?
I hear you, man. Yeah. No, a lot of people are saying that. One of the reasons why I went to video, I saw my numbers not drop terribly, but no, obviously a lot of people aren't commuting, so they aren't watching or they aren't listening. And I'm listening to less podcasts because I'm not commuting to work either. So I get it.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the reasons why I went to video.
Imagine you're Jeffrey Katzenberg, and you've just created this thing called Quibi, designed for people to watch in little 10-minute things.
I got to be honest, really, Tad. The whole Quibi story. It's like, hey, congratulations, you invented 2009 YouTube. Well done. It's like, who thought this was a good idea? I would have told Jeffrey and Meg, bad idea. long form, guys.
I think the idea that with them was just you get big enough stars. I actually, because I can see a lot of things for your consideration because I'm.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I was intrigued by
which show?
I'll be right out for that. They've actually been telling me about it.
See, exactly. We don't want you to get in trouble with the family.
Pizza's here. Yeah.
Home cooked. Anyway, that I forgot where I was.
What Quibi show? Yeah.
Oh well, just that Anna Kendrick.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I watched enough of that. I said, well, I'm really curious about that one. So I watched that one, and it was like it peaks and valleys. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty good, but didn't go where I wanted. It was like okay, but it's like if you're going to do a little thing like that, that has to be your impression for every single trailer you have to say. Yep. It's like saying if you want to watch The Mandalorian, got to watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's that, whatever it is. Or if you want to see these Marvel series and continue that, and it's got big special effects, they're spending real money, it's like it's this one place. Unless you can offer something like that, to me, it's not about the length. It's about,
it's the story.
I mean, I got the idea, but it's also like, and Jeffrey's out here in Southern California. It's like not everybody takes the subway. Often they're like driving, and they should be watching their 10-minute show over there.
Yep. No, it's like I said, I didn't understand it when I heard it. I'm like, how is this new? And again, I'm not as bad as my buddy Rob Burnett, who literally gleefully reads every article about how it's tanking as best.
He loves it.
Well, again, Jeffrey Katzenberg, say what you will, but he created that Disney golden age of animation.
I'm with you, man.
Putting people together and all of that. And there would be no Darkwing Duck unless Jeffrey said, I'm ordering you to create this series.
That's cool.
And I had no idea of it wasn't like I had an idea for even a superhero series or a superhero parody, something like that. I might have had science fiction ideas, but that just would have been a whole different thing. So thank you, Jeffrey.
Indeed.
Shout out to Jeffrey.
I will go out and get something to eat. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Dude,
thank you very much.
Guys,
great talk.
You're a good man.
I'll be sharing water with you. You can take your swig of your jug.
Yeah, man.
There he goes.
Right there. Yeah.
There he goes. Because
Outstanding.
important. You gotta wash your hands, wear a mask, and hydrate.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Cape too.
Got my mask.
Great seeing you, man.
Oh, there you go.
Mask.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it.
Good man, sir.
Great hangout. Thank
Good
you.
talking to you guys.
You're a good man.
All right.
Be
Okay.
well.
Bye.
Stay dangerous.
There we go. Ted Stokes, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Huh? He's wonderful.
He's a good man.
telling you. Jesus, that was amazing, Ted.
That was
That was so great. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. I'm letting him know that I took him out of the picture. I don't know if he's hanging out or what. I mean, we might still be going. He's giving the thumbs up off screen. But yeah, seriously, so happy. Be well. There he goes. All right, man. I swear. And now I'm really gonna gush. Seriously, guys. I know it's not our usual hangout and everybody talking.
I was just going to say, word balloon is over. Now we can start the Oh Yeah podcast.
Yeah, if you want exactly.
Welcome to the Oh Yeah podcast.
So
That was awesome.
So many good stories, man.
Yeah. I can just listen to him tell stories all day.
well,
literally.
it's a fascinating career, absolutely, man. And seriously, that's truly been in the comic book world as well. This has been the greatest thing about Word Balloon, honestly, is getting to meet these people and hearing these incredible stories. So no, I get it.
I mean, it's just like you said, he was one of the first guys that came up to you. Like when we're at a table in San Diego or standing outside of a restaurant in Denver, and this guy comes up to you and starts talking about you, and he goes, oh, I love your books, and I have this, and I have this, and I'm like, oh, my name's Franco, and it's Tad Stone. Oh, why do I know your name?
Yeah.
I know your name for a reason. Oh my God, the realization is coming to me. I know exactly who you are. Why are you talking to me? Type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
So for people watching, I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show. I figured we would play.
Yeah, let's start the show again.
Our amazing. Absolutely. I didn't want to play it more than.
There's a clue back there, Johnny, for the beginning.
Oh, let me hear. I'll isolate you.
The Toledo Mud Hens hat back there. That's a clue.
Hey, incidentally,
That's a clue right there.
Right, yeah, it is.
Lebanese.
All right, here we go.
Tony Pacos.
I have a picture of the Mud Hens. If you never saw it.
I'm gonna put up the.
I love that.
Watch it.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're gonna show it, and then we'll talk. Here we go.
Our biggest.
Yeah, podcast host. This is Jamie Farr from the TV series MASH. And Yoko Chips wanted me to say hi to all the guys. And I got their names here. Art, Franco, Scoot, and of course Yoko Chips, Mike, and the other Mike. And they had a question. They said, who was Klinger's favorite comic book and superhero? Well, I believe you have me confused with Radar. As a matter of fact, I just emailed Gary Berghoff.
Okay, clearly I have to ask whoever is causing the echo to stop being an idiot, please. Let's try it again. And if it doesn't work, it's our...
Hiya. Yeah, podcast host. This is Jamie Farr from the TV series MASH. And Yoko Chips wanted me to say hi to all the guys. And I got their names here. Art, Franco, Scoot, and of course Yoko Chips, Mike, and the other Mike. And they had a question. They said, who was Klinger's favorite comic book and superhero? Well, I believe you have me confused with Radar. As a matter of fact, I just emailed Gary Berghoff, who played Radar, and he told me that his favorite comic book actually was Wiz Comics, and his favorite character was Captain Marvel. But you got the right guy, Jamie Farr, because I love comic books. I had a whole bunch of... I had the first Superman and the first Detective Comics that introduced Batman. As a matter of fact, at one of the conventions, I met Bob Kane, and he did a rendering of Batman for me. And I can't find it, otherwise I'd show it to you. But look at, here's some of the collections I have. My wife got me this one here. And, of course, it has all the great characters in there. The Spectre and Hawkman and Plastic Man, and of course here's the great comics. I used to enjoy those. I get the New York Mirror and the Chicago Tribune. They get all the comic characters, and I wanted to tell you, I had all the originals. They were absolutely pristine. And when I got drafted into the Army, I had them all put in my mom's garage in a nice big barrel. And guess what? When I got out, she had given them all away. I could have retired. I didn't have to do MASH. I had all these wonderful, absolutely beautiful comic books that I had, and I loved them so much. And Scoot, I guess you're from Toledo, and you like Tony Pacos, so I have a picture of that. So listen, guys, I like podcasts. I'll check in with you. Jeff Maxwell, who played Igor, has MASH Matters, which is a podcast on about MASH, and of course Alan Alda has one called Clear and Vivid. So nice talking to all of you, and I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast. Thank you.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Tony Pacos. MASH.
I love the best part of that video is how disappointed he's going to be when he sees our podcast.
Lisa said, I saw the Tad Stone show.
No,
He was good.
Someone he's gonna be impressed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he
right.
was.
Yeah.
Every time he says Yoko Chips, that kills me.
Oh, for me, it was MASH.
I can't believe it.
MASH podcast.
Because,
Yoko Chips, yeah.
I mean, Jamie Farr has been a subject of the podcast for a long time. He's come up for years because, of course, the connection with Scoot. And to be a listener, a fan of the podcast, and see this come about is pretty. It's historic for the podcast.
I'm gonna have to
I
take
like
a
it.
screen cap and because it's awesome. So Cameo, if you yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, would like a Jamie Farr greeting, it's only $100. It's the greatest $100 we've ever spent.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to spend it on every podcast now to get a video from him.
For $2.99 more, you can leave a comment. And as I said earlier, I thanked him profusely. But maybe I should take a screen cap, especially with Scoot wearing the Mudheads hat. They're like, see, they are Mudhead fans. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, and that him holding a figure.
Yeah, that's right. Jamie Farr. That's cool.
That was seriously, it exceeded expectations. And I've shared it with a couple friends that you wouldn't be watching the podcast and stuff. And they have been like combing cameo for various guys. But I honestly, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, it's like I can't think of another celebrity that has been so gentle and sweet with the people they talk to.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Skoke, we know is I see here you just retired from the tire shop. And it's so adorable how like sweet he is to everybody. And
honestly, when I first saw it, like the first run through, he's like, "Oh, you got the wrong guy." You're thinking of Radar. And I'm like, "Oh, damn, he's not going to answer this question. He's going to fluff it off." But then he came back, and I'm like, "All right,
yeah.
He hit it hard.
Yeah, he's like a genuine comic fan, which is perfect for the show.
Bob Kane,
better than we could have ever thought of. I mean, I don't know who else would have. He brought out old books. That's cool.
Which he had props,
And the books were a little gamey from Jamie.
Absolutely. I mean, this literally both books were published in the 70s, maybe the 60s with the Pfeiffer book. And I know as a kid, those and like giant table or coffee table sized Peanuts collections, that pretty much was it for graphic novels when I was a little kid.
Yeah, right. They were in the libraries too and stuff. Yeah.
I
remember that.
That's the thing for like, and my wife picked up this Jules Pfeiffer collection.
And then
That's a young picture.
Marvel used to do like those Fireside books, but those were like reprints.
Right, and you're right. Those did come later. But they were in the 70s. They were in the late 70s. Oh no, I remember. No, they were Christmas presents for me one year. But I know that those two were in stores prior to those Fireside books and the DC ones as well, the Bonanza or whatever imprint it was that did like Superman from the 30s to the 70s and
You think we could get Tony Danza next?
Hey, can you call all of my characters Tony? So I understand who it is.
I want to hear the Yoko.
We gave me a list of names to shout out, but I'm just going to say hello, Tony, and Tony, and Tony, and Tony.
And
Yoko Chips.
And Yoko Tony.
When he was correct, that's how Bill Maher would introduce. He'd be like, he played Tony on Taxi, Tony on Who's the Boss, and he's in a new show called Hudson Street where he plays a character called Tony.
Is there anything else sweeter about that video than in the age of COVID, he carries a picture of Paco's?
I know.
Yeah, he had it.
Is a postcard from Pat.
Yeah.
I can't.
I gotta go stand in front of that same building and take a picture so we can show it on the next podcast.
And like Johnny was saying, the superheroes he name checked were like it's not like he was like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Like he went deeper there.
Yeah, the Spectre.
For somebody who's not a comic fan, so Spectre's a good one.
Man, he's good.
Plastic Man, for crying out loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we should draw him some of these characters and send them to him as a thank you.
We could.
We'll each do one.
I'll send him a
$100 each one.
Yeah.
God, that's a good idea.
$100.
That's a good idea. And have them all surrounding Klinger.
Yeah.
Or we'll draw all the superheroes wearing a dress.
Oh my God!
honor
Look
him.
what you send me. I'm surrounded by Hawkman.
I'm gonna draw the Spectre eating Tony Paco's hot dog.
Yes, have them all.
I love it when guys send me these pictures because I charge them $100 every time they send me one.
Dude, honestly, I got to find out. I don't know how to do it, but yeah, we should hey, can we send Jamie something? Find an address that we could do that. That'd be great.
And he said, I've been receiving these drawings every day for the last 6 months. I don't know what's going on. They're all coming from Ohio.
Cameo.
Yeah.
Jamie Farr. That's it.
I'm doing something similar tomorrow with John Cleese, and it's from a website called Famio. And
I wonder where they got the idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Truly, I don't know if they're affiliated or not, but
they're not.
They're not.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, obviously, Mike, you got the knowledge. Okay. So,
Yeah,
are they working with conventions or anything, Mike? Either company?
Not us.
Okay. Good to know.
There was conversations, but we're not doing anything.
Okay.
I think I think their ideas is they still want what they get, and they don't want, you could upcharge it, and like, then why not go directly to them type of thing? So
I understand. No, I understand. Well, the Cleese package, and I'll even tell you, it was $200, and for it, you got access to a John Cleese comedy special, and literally, I'm gonna make the move like him. He's like leaning back on his couch, literally almost at a 45-degree angle, almost like on a Frankenstein slab. I mean, that's Francis.
Oh, like that. Oh, is that what he's like?
Yeah, I mean, his face.
What's your name? Yoko Chips.
Yoko Chips.
And he's telling Python stories and other stories from his career. And
why does everybody look like the ceiling?
Exactly, and it was
every
like
once in a while he lays out a fart.
no, but it was 45 minutes long. And then they set up these meet and greets, and they have windows of like 2 hours. And mine is tomorrow from 1 my time, local time, until 3. And you get in line, and you get like 2 to 3 minutes with him.
I was about to say, it's a 2-hour meet and greet. It's 2 to 3 minutes.
Right.
Right.
So that's why. I mean, if you just wanted, there were tiers, but if you wanted to be included in the meet and greet, it was $200. And I'm like, this might be the only chance I get, even in a video capacity, to meet John Cleese. I'm like, that's worth $200.
I can't wait till the next show when we show that video.
We
and he's
will.
going to hold up a coconut, and here's a coconut from our original production.
I can't wait.
A copy of the video? Did I send you a copy?
Yes, yeah, they do, and both of you. I mean,
Right, that's what I said, both of you.
I believe we're both in the picture, so I better comb my hair and not be like, "Hi, Mr. Cleese."
You have good hair, Johnny.
I
You
can't-
got good hair.
I can't wait till you ask him whether or not he's had a verjunt.
Did he? The Verjunt is alive.
I
That's
wanted to
right.
ask him about is the Python comedy albums because I'm fascinated by those, and also about his audio performing rather than his TV and film stuff, because I figured that's kind of a fresh topic that I've never really heard him go in detail about. And I was going to say, Franco and Scoot and I were talking. Skoke, you gotta. I mean, can you imagine if Cosby were doing a cameo? I wonder what that might be like.
Hey, hello, Yoko Chips. This is the rest of the cars. I'm pleased to be talking to you. Hey, let's talk about Tony Pacos. I like Jamie Farr. Yeah, we were good friends. He came on a couple of my programs.
Let me introduce you to the big fella. To the
this is a
big
very
fella
good-
here.
There you go.
Very
Hold
good.
on.
There you go.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
This is a very
I'm
good
gonna show
distraction
you.
from prison.
Let's
Hold on,
do a
like,
full
there it is.
screen.
Wow.
There he is.
Couple
Hello.
of cool dudes.
Damn.
Look
Going
at those
right on the
guns.
street. He was
Man.
on. This was 45th and Lex.
That's when John Cleese met Superman.
He was very annoyed.
Was he really?
He looks very happy in that picture, but he was not happy to take that picture.
Aw. Wow.
Take
the
picture.
Yes.
On every show, I want to just name check random celebrities so Mike could pull out a photo.
Yeah, pull out a photo. Absolutely. If you gave him $200, he probably would have felt a little bit better about it.
Ray Romano.
Hold on, stand by. Who is that? Hold on.
Ow!
Oh, you know good?
Bring it back.
Oh no!
James Murray. Gene Simmons. I don't know.
Bill Cosby.
Yeah, where's your?
Laverne and Shirley.
Oh my
I don't
God.
have
Do you have a picture of Tony Pacos in there?
Ah, Ewan
I don't have a
McGregor.
picture. I don't know.
Hello,
They
Laverne.
really hate each other. My sister Penny
Hello,
couldn't
Cheryl.
stand Cindy Williams. Very unhappy set, unlike Happy Days, which
We need to-
truly were happy.
Happy
We
day.
need to get Alan Arkin on Cameo.
Really? You
Hello,
want to
Van.
talk? All right, fine. All right.
Oh,
I'm
yeah?
talking to somebody here. I have no idea who you are. I don't really care.
Does Matthew McConaughey do a cameo? We got
Oh.
Oh
Who does?
man, that'd
in
be.
there with no shirt.
Hey, talk about it.
Who did you say?
Virus.
Oh yeah, there you
Coronavirus.
McConaughey. Yeah, all right.
All right, coronavirus.
I would love Alan Arkin because he would go, and who the hell is Yoko Chips?
This makes no sense to me. I don't feel proper to read names. Yoko Chips. I'm feeling like that might be racist. I'm not gonna say that. That's
How about
totally
Sam
wrong.
Elliott? So they call you the Ghost Rider.
How
That's
you
all I know.
How you
You
doing?
got to start in every episode. So they call you. So they call you. Yoko
Oh!
Chips.
We forgot Ghost Stories.
Next
Oh,
Oh,
time.
we're going to do it on the next show.
Okay.
I ran too long.
Yeah, but next time, Mike, when you do Cosby doing a cameo, you got to get maybe a grill or something like that. I'm in jail, you see.
Somebody get me out of here, please. Is anybody listening to this? Can you? Hello.
There's a lot of pudding happening behind the scenes.
Come
There
here.
it is. He got bars.
I understand there's something called conjugal visits, you see. How do I get
see some pudding pops in my anus?
Conjugal.
I love how we had Tad Stones on and we had like a peak viewership of like 12 people, and now we're probably down to 1.
Yeah, it's Mario.
We have 243,558, 60. It goes up. Oh, that's the time. Oh, I see.
Two Sheds is still watching, so is Wayne.
Yeah, Two Sheds.
Wouldn't it be great to get Dr. Zayas to, a human? Yes.
Elliot, yeah. Can't we get him? Dana Gould? I was going to say Elliot Gould.
You know, I tried to log into the Dr. Zayas Twitter account, but I can't remember.
I can't
how to
remember.
get in it.
I know.
I forgot we had that.
I tried to do it, and I read the last few things Dr. Zayas wrote. He's just yelling at everybody. But this would be the first time, like, he's calling them filthy humans, scum, everyday scum. He just says scum. But this would be a good time for Dr. Zayas because of the trying times, because the
He's
end
a
of human
doctor.
civilization.
And he's a doctor, too.
We got to bring him back.
Your race
I
will
don't
be
know how to.
wiped out and
I don't know how to
subjugated.
log in. Yeah.
No, it's true. All right, I'd like to see him do cameo. Yes. Hello. Congratulations on your 50th anniversary, humans. I understand that you worked at a chemical plant for many years. Perhaps some evidence of that plant will be in the Forbidden Zone. Some crap like that.
It's good to see a lot of you dying. That's what he's saying. Good riddance.
Yeah, it was all prophesized in the sacred scroll.
One of the best parts about that Jamie Farr thing, again, going back to that, was man, Mike and the other Mike.
Well, which is the other Mike? Is it I the other Mike or you the other Mike?
I don't know. This is going to be
only Jamie Farr knows.
And Mike, Stoke and Mighty Mike.
This is the greatest mystery since Who Sent You That Jazzy Jeff air freshener, right?
Listen to me. You guys weren't privy. You guys were not privy to the writing session that Scoot and Johnny and I had for that video, and we agonized over every word of what we should write to him.
Literally, yeah. Down to the exact word, the
It
letter.
was like a tweet. It was only 250 characters, so we really had to make them count. So it's like, all right, well, we can get more space if we condense this. And,
Little did we know he'd talk for 2.5 minutes.
It was so great.
That was
If you could fit Mike and other Mike, then you could have fit Stoke and Mighty Mike.
No, we couldn't because when we listed everybody, we listed Scoot, and then we went back and we said, you know what? He's probably going to screw that up and say Scott. So in parentheses, we wrote not Scott. We wrote Scoot, parentheses, not Scott.
Mike, we thought would be funny, and maybe and there's another Mike, or something like that. So that's where we were going. And that's why it was Mike and Mike. So
Mike and Mike in the show.
It was
You save room by
Yes,
you save room by using ampersand instead of and for and.
yeah, we did.
Is that what you did? Oh, good.
Every trick I do for 280 characters for Twitter if I got a rant.
Yeah.
250 characters.
Only 250.
It sounded like he had more. Like how did I don't know?
Because he told us.
It sounded like you supplied him with more.
No,
like,
No, a lot of that was him.
Tony Pacos. Like, how did he that's a lot of information.
Yoko
Well,
Chip.
that was part of the team.
Yeah.
Put it in.
You guys are Lebanese.
Let us down on
I think.
Yoko Chips.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'll go over the roadmap with you some other time, but I don't know. I always flip me off, Mike.
And obviously Yoko Chips again.
He didn't even question what's a Yoko chip. He didn't say. He acknowledged it like he knew what he was saying.
Weird. I was
There's bags of Yoko chips that show up in Franco and in our book Spot On Adventure in the background. There's bags of Yoko chips.
Yoko chips.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to the Vajunct. What's up? I don't know what that is, but sounds Lebanese.
we actually, this happened a few days ago. We have a bag of Sun Chips. My daughter picked out some Sun Chips, right? And she said, "Daddy, did you ever try these?" And I say, I talk to them like at least once a week. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh no, nothing. I'll try it."
Sun Chips before with
We
Yoko.
call them Yoko chips.
Well, it was well worth the thought you guys put into that because that thing was amazing.
You know, when I uploaded,
He ran with it.
I it's technically our 10th anniversary, guys, because we started the podcast back in 2010.
That's why we had Jamie come on, because we had the 10th anniversry.
We knew.
And we are so meticulous in our planning that we figured out it was the 10th anniversary after we submitted for the video. So we didn't even put it in the video.
Well, congratulations, fellas.
But here's some images of some old episodes. There's one that
I remember that.
Going.
The Phantom Zone. Yeah.
And that's me in the Phantom Zone.
Look at Hogan.
Franco in a tub.
There's
the Peroni episode.
Very nice.
Katie Cook or somebody was on that, or no? I can't remember.
I'm assuming it was probably Katie. Good hair with Gail Simone.
Good hair.
Oh, that's right.
Shut up, Franco, of course. See, Mike, you've just replaced Franco in my anger. That's all.
Shut up, Franco.
Yeah. Exactly. And then this shoe coffee.
Yeah. I like how I'm always screaming on all this coffee.
I know. I'll save it for the next show. We've got a couple others like Jimmy the Muscle floating a sulfur biscuit.
Yeah.
Things like that.
There's one I drew of Klinger one time too that we have where he's got chest hair.
Yes, that's right.
He's wearing the Mud Hens jersey.
Yeah. Yep.
Incidentally. Yeah, absolutely, man. Oh, and if I may, guys, do you mind if I promote next Friday on Word Balloon?
No, I was going to tell you to.
Yeah, do it. I don't know what it is, but do it.
Originally, I was just going to have the Benson sisters and Tom King hang out like we always do and just have something new to talk about. And the Bensons are like, hey, it's during San Diego. Why don't we approximate like an after-hours hangout? And, hey, we're not going to call it BarCon because obviously that's got a bad connotation these days. But they were ridiculous. And they're like, hey, it'll be John Con. And I'm like, oh, no. And they're like,
it's like bathroom.
Yeah, but no, actually, sadly, it is John Con.
Yeah.
And there we go. So I'll tell you, really, truly, guys, and seriously, I take nothing for granted. And all of you are part of this as well. The friendships that I've made doing 15 years of Word Balloon still floor me.
Yeah, you're a good man, Johnny.
Well, you guys
always had that leather couch together. That's where we met.
That's true. Yes,
that's how
the
we
FX
met.
show. That's Brother Bear put us together. That's absolutely.
And I'll always have that futon that you're sitting on.
Yes, that's right. That's
and
right.
I always know what you say when you're falling asleep too. Your catchphrases, because I experienced you at the airport.
Yes, you did.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
hilarious.
Oh, that's great. Hilarious. Oh.
So,
the
people that are joining me for
guess you're just joining us.
I'm going to bring up my email, but I can tell you right now off the bat, Dan Slott is coming on. Nicholas Scott, Gary Ordway is coming on.
Is that all one stream, and you're going to tag them in?
Yeah, and what they're going to do is it'll be the four of us, Tom and the Benson sisters, and then people will dip in for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, that's cool.
Here, I'm bringing up Julie.
Hello, Julie. Hello, Levan.
Exactly.
Hello, Julie.
So here, let's see.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hello, baby.
Hi.
Hi, Mary.
Okay.
Hello there.
So
hello there.
Tom King.
That wasn't Obi-Wan. That was that Santa that you talked to. Hello there.
Hello there.
Shelley Bond.
Santa.
Hello there.
I like Shelley Bond.
Jody Hauser, Dan Slott.
I know all these people. Yeah.
Vita Ayala, Ben Percy, Liam Sharp, and Chris Cantwell. And then we're waiting to hear back from a handful of others. And seriously.
And you're also you were talking to me about it, so you gotta promote it. You're maybe gonna get some giveaway stuff and a whole bunch of other stuff happening, right?
Yes, and thank you, because what we're gonna do is, because we have so many creators on, we're gonna run a couple raffles, and people will tip Word Balloon to get their question asked.
Nice.
And they will be in a drawing. And I've also talked to Aftershock Comics and a little shop called Oh Yeah Comics in Harrison. New
I know
York.
those guys. Yeah.
And yeah, we'll be giving away graphic novels to the people who have the best, questions. And
Is this going to be an all day, or do you have a set time, or is it going to be like an all day?
No, we're going to start Friday evening, and
Nice.
we haven't set a specific time, but even the Bensons were like, "Hey, maybe we should start earlier, just to accommodate everybody, because we're going to have East Coast people and West
Like
Coast."
a 4-hour show or something?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
well, cool.
you start on Friday and then just go all the way to Sunday. You'll be
Yeah.
good.
Well,
Monday.
you can do like a stream. I think the maximum is 8 hours. I don't expect to do 8 hours, but it really was nice. So that's nice. So next Friday, watch on social media. I'm sure I'll put posts on I Like Pink and certainly my Twitter feed and everything else. But John Con.
I like that.
It's like a Jerry Lewis telethon.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Timpani.
Lady.
Francis colored the great image, and it was originally drawn by Tim Seeley and Sean Dove.
Nice.
Mike Norton wants to come on for a Mike Norton minute.
Why didn't you invite me on the show? I got.
Well, you could just talk about him, and then people could say, "Where is he? It's a mystery."
Julie, my phone keeps ringing.
It reminds me of when back in 2006 we did a 24-hour podcast, and we did it at Dark Tower, Middle-Aged Thor's store.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Exactly, and we call him Middle-Aged Thor because he has a nice long ponytail. He looks like he could have been an Asgardian.
Can you lift this hammer for me?
Jimmy the Muscle's an Asgardian.
Of course, he's an Asgardian. He's a floating sulfur biscuit Asgard.
Hey, dude, I'm an Asgardian, dude.
In the short time that we were talking to Ted, I know I caught it. We talked to him for two hours, but in a short span of a window, I happened to glance down, and I saw Walter Simonson was watching us. Steve Rotterdam for Aftershock was watching us, and Jan Michael Friedman was watching us.
Oh, that's great!
Like all these people were. I'm like, wow, everybody's watching it.
That's fantastic. Seriously. It is the highest compliment when the creators pop up. I was talking to Charlie Adler earlier. John Lehman popped on. I love when Walter shows up. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, hey, how you doing?
And when you were talking, I was watching your talk with Sienkiewicz last night, and that was awesome.
Yeah. Now, guys, I swear, seriously, I say a prayer and thank the Lord for everybody and baby Jesus already.
Baby Jesus, yeah, thank you.
Lex Christ.
For seriously, everyone is incredibly kind to me.
You're welcome.
Even when I'm an asshole to them on a podcast where someone's lighting is too bright.
Well, let's be clear, John.
Or their microphone doesn't work.
What's that, buddy? I swear I couldn't.
Lighting or no?
Angry Yoko chips.
I'm seriously, Mike. I'm gonna hug you when I see you, and I expect a punch in the mouth when I see you.
I needed a for John, but it won't hurt because you got to remove it.
Right on the lips.
There you go.
So, Harold.
Send me seriously, and truly, I will gift you a headset. How about that? Do you have a Mac or do you have a PC? Honestly, I'm asking.
I have a PC.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Well, then I'll send you a headset.
You got an extra headset laying around?
Yes.
Johnny does.
Johnny, do me a favor. When you send it to him, could you send it with a DJ Jazzy Jeff air freshener?
How'd you get that?
I don't even know where it is. I put it somewhere and now I can't even remember where I put it. And it meant the world to me, and now I don't know where it is.
But I hope your wife burned it.
No, I put it somewhere so nothing would happen to it, and now I can't remember where I put it.
Well, you got to smell for it because it smells good.
Well, it's got to be like that.
Smells like summertime.
It's got to be that Superman thing that you lost forever and then you refound. So
Shout out.
It'll be a pleasant surprise when you dig it up, man.
Hey, Mike, what happened when Lori heard the Jamie Farr video?
This is actually really funny. So, I'm sitting at the counter. Some of you have been to my house. It's only Frank has been to my house, but I'm on the counter, sitting on the stools. She's on the kitchen side, and she's pouring herself a drink or whatever. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And I just start listening, and all of a sudden she hears Jamie Farr's voice, which is very distinct. And she hears, the podcast guy. And she has something in her hand. She has a cup in her hand. She's like, what? And she fully just turns and hits something on the counter and spills all over the place. She was like, what's going on? She goes, "You're talking to Jamie Farr?" She goes, "What? You guys having a podcast with Jamie Farr?" I was like, "No, it's just a cameo." And then she just was so excited. She was like, "This is the best thing that you ever done." I got into
Honestly, Scoot, Franco and I are writing this, and it's like, and they say it's like it may take 7 days to respond. Literally, early afternoon the next day.
But we were joking because we wrote the thing, and then it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock last night, or something.
2 nights ago, yeah,
or 2 nights ago, whenever it was. We said that, and then we started joking because it's us and we're dumb. But we started joking. Imagine if we got a response now, and he got it in the middle of the night, and he's in his pajamas, and he's like, "Oh, I got a cameo video. Oh yeah, what the hell is a Yoko Chips? Okay."
Hey, honey,
we kind of went on with that for like about 20 minutes, and we were laughing and stuff like that. Literally the next morning, at like 7 a.m, I get a text from John. "Oh my God, he did it." And I was like, what?
It was insane. It was insane. And seriously,
you can tell from the video it is bright and early in the morning.
But I said to Johnny, because before I even saw it, he said, "Oh my God, he did it. Jamie Farr did the video." And I texted back to Johnny. I'm like, "Was he wearing his pajamas?" Because I wanted to know. I wanted to know if he had done it.
We were
the official Mudhens pajamas.
I know it was expensive. I'm willing to chip in and do a second one, a part 2.
Well, honestly,
and it's the podcast, guys, again.
The Mike and the other Mike.
Wait a minute.
I want to clarify which Mike is.
I like that Yoko Chips is personally funding my retirement.
Yoko Chips.
I'm putting money for part 2.
My face hurt from smiling.
I'm glad I was sitting down already when I watched it because I was shocked. I'm saying, Yoko Chips. Couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
We should ask him in the next one.
Like crazy.
We should say, when you've been to Chicago, have you by chance ever had Harold's Chicken?
Harold's Chicken.
I'll have mine. I'm going to have a picture of Harold's Chicken right here.
Hey, Artie, look, Harold.
Here we are with our selfie.
I can't wait till his name comes up. You can see who's watching these. I can't wait till he starts watching.
I can't wait till he walks in this door back here when he comes to Toledo. He comes here like once a year still, usually for Mudhens games, but there's no baseball this summer, so I don't think he's going to make it with the COVID and everything. So hopefully next summer things are back to normal and he comes to town. Because the news always does a story about him too when he comes to town, like Jamie Farr's in town, and
that's cool.
They interview him.
There's absolutely no chance that he has gotten this far in the podcast and is watching this. But but on the off chance that he is, I wanted to put it on record that we are huge fans of Jamie Farr, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah, MASH was a staple in our house growing up because my dad watched it all the time.
I was telling Johnny I did a rewatch. I'm doing a rewatch. I'm in the middle of it.
And I haven't heard the MASH podcast, but I really want to. And I did hear the Alan Alda podcast episode where they had all the cast members on, and it was terrific, amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, we should get a cameo from Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh,
ow! Ow!
It's you again.
Yoko Chips.
Yoko Chips. It always starts out with the face.
Capo again. Not you again.
$200.
See if Gilbert's on there.
I wish I would have thought to ask Ted about the voiceover people he's worked with. Like, I'm sure he's worked with Gilbert on the Aladdin cartoon.
Yeah, Aladdin. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He mentioned Dan from Simpsons.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look how much Gilbert was, Mike. How much?
200.
It says $199.
No.
Ouch!
No, funny, not that funny.
Sorry, we'll let Mike. We'll let Skoke call in when he has those audience call-ins because Mike always manages to get in. He's got fast fingers.
Yeah, I've been on there it's been like 4 times I've gotten on there and talked to him. One time he insulted me. One time he called me a guinea, which was kind of an honor coming from him. But
I think those are 15. Kevin.
I don't want a Curly G cameo, Kevin. I don't think
they're only $15.
I don't think it's worth the 50 cents that he charges.
Ooh, what about a
Isn't it
Jazzy Jeff
wonderful?
cameo?
There's
Jazzy
not
Jeff.
a Jazzy Jeff.
He's half Curly Howard and half Jackie Rogers Jr. Think of your favorite celebrity, like Sammy. Really, man. You know, in seriousness, let's all really take a moment and appreciate. Because really, man, that I don't know, those videos I saw, it's like, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, that's the thing. My buddy who writes for the Wall Street Journal, I sent him the Jamie Farr thing, and he's scanning, looking at Cameo, and he's suggesting celebrities. I'm like, Jamie Farr, man, is that combination of kitsch and like genuine sweetness,
authenticity. Yeah.
Yes, authenticity. Well said, sir. Absolutely.
The only other one I can think of is maybe Chevy Chase for like $800 or something like that. I don't know. Probably he's got to be up there.
Christopher Lloyd would be good.
Is he on there too?
Hurry!
Yeah, I'd rather he'd be like a 70-year-old Jim Ignatowski, frankly.
Chevy Chase is $500.
Who is
Chevy Chase? $500.
There you go.
No thanks.
See?
No thanks. How much?
Christopher Lloyd.
Look up Christopher Lloyd. Yeah, that's going to be your job tonight. This is good.
I'd rather do 5 Jamie Farrs.
Exactly.
How about Wendy Williams? She on there?
No, she probably is actually.
Our number is $288.
Whoa.
Who is?
Number
Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, that's because Cameo probably gets $88 and Christopher Lloyd wants it $200 or $250 or whatever it is.
Well, 88 miles an hour.
288.
Oh, there you go. 288. There you go.
Yeah.
2 sheds of simple damning on Cameo. She's on. She needs 2 spaces to accommodate her figure.
How about that girl?
Spelled with an S though.
Yeah, but I knew it.
How about Adele? Adele, I get her on there.
Jamie Farr is the official mascot of the podcast. Kevin, good lord, of course he is.
I think we're his mascots at this point.
Yeah, Wendy'd be the only one I want on there. How you doing? Podcast.
If Robin Reigns is $500 and Alexa Bliss is $399, it's got to be a big price. All right then.
That's
well, I know like Jabbar is on there for like $600 and a few other top athletes and stuff. But it's like, hey man, guess what? I had 30 minutes with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and thanks to Franco pointing out that he was writing Sherlock Holmes' brother.
That's true. So. What about Ozzie Guillen from Sox? We could have him swear.
Thanks for your call.
We get Ozzie Guillen and Antonio Banderas on at the same time, and we won't know what they're talking about. I love you. What's your toy? Yeah.
Ozzie Guillen, $50.
$50?
Ozzie Guillen really is on there. Holy shit!
I like it once a week.
Holy shit!
I like how Art went from I'm never gonna get this thing. Wait, $50? I'm gonna get it.
I'm gonna get him on my morning talk show.
Get him for your dad's birthday, Artie.
You should
wish your dad a happy birthday.
Artie to do a promo, or Ozzie to do a promo for your show, Artie.
I would love it.
You should totally do that. That's a great idea.
You can't see. You never know what he's saying. Baseball, American baseball is small ball. Bunting, lot of bunting. I'm like, what? And he would get the reliever. He just said, "What the big guy? The big guy." He wouldn't even go left. He'd just go like this. The big guy. Touchdown? No, the big guy. Yeah, I like Ozzie. I'm a big fan. Raisky, my buddy Raisky, met him at Target one time. Ozzie Guillen was shopping at Target, and he saw Ozzie, and then I get a text on my phone. It was like a picture of him and Ozzie Guillen at Target. Like, what the heck, man?
Mike and Franco, have you guys run into sports celebrities in New York and stuff, or just randomly?
All the time. They live in my backyard.
Patrick Ewing.
I am not a sports guy, so you have to remember. So one day, many years ago, maybe almost 20 years at this point, I got into a little altercation with two baseball players because I didn't know who they were, and they didn't appreciate that I didn't know who they were. It was Derek Jeter and a guy named Knarbloch.
Yeah,
Knarbloch.
Chuck Knarbloch. Yeah,
Chuck Knarbloch. They were at a bar, and I really didn't know like shit who they were, and I was trying to get a drink at the time I was drinking. So this has to be over 20 years ago, and they kind of gave me this look like, "Do you know who we are?" And then Chuck Knarbloch was like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm trying to get through to get a drink," and they all, like, everyone around them looked at me like I was I was a Nazi or something. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
must be a Red Sox fan. Yeah.
And then they got so pissed off, they talked to a manager, and and the manager like freaked out and cordoned off a section of the bar for them to sit privately and be privately.
Wow.
searched.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Get over
It's not required. You know who they are. You know.
Way back in the day, there wasn't much up here when I was a kid, but there was this little strip mall, and they got Mookie Wilson to come down and sign autographs.
Yeah, Mookie. Yeah.
Mookie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I got an autograph from Mookie Wilson, and I didn't know who he was. So.
I'm at the fridge. He was cool. Me and my dad and Gordy was like 3 years old.
Refrigerator.
I'm at the fridge.
Absolutely.
I'm at Jamie Farr at the LPGA Kroger Classic when I was a kid. Yeah.
Hey, son. How are you?
Wow.
I wonder if Anthony Daniels is on Cameo. C-3PO. Hello.
Or you and McGregor.
I'm gonna call Ozzy for sure.
Hello, Yoko Chips.
I used to work on 42nd and Lex. I used to work for Pfizer, whose headquarters is right over there. So the Roosevelt is over on, which is where apparently all the baseball teams would stay when they were playing the Mets or Yankees.
Sure.
So whenever I would be out for lunch, there'd be autograph hounds sitting out there all the time. So I would walk past and people would come out, and they would lose their minds when these guys came out.
Sure.
And I didn't know who they were. But I'm just trying to get through the crowd to get to lunch. So half the time I would run into a baseball player or a football player or something, and they'd look at me like, "What do you want me to sign?" I'm like, "I'm just trying to get through." And they're like, "Oh, sorry."
I like that Mike is pissed off half the teams on the Eastern Seaboard because he wanted something to eat or drink.
Exactly. Well,
Human necessity. Yeah.
Don't interrupt me while one of the guys stopped me and was like, "You want a picture?" And I took a picture with him. I don't know where that picture is to this day, and I don't even know who he was to this day. But apparently, he was a famous baseball player of some sort. I don't know who.
And that man was?
I really don't know. I should
Mickey
find
Mouse.
out.
So Ozzy's only $50.
This is the point where Mike
bigger.
Nagan pulls out pictures of him and Tom Seaver, him and
Yeah, I don't know that.
Nolan Ryan. And
No,
Exactly.
Roger
One
Clemens.
of my biggest regrets of all time, though, is I did not take a picture with Muhammad Ali when I had the chance.
I wish I had, and again, this is before phone cameras. I met him in 91. I had an interview on a microcassette. I have no idea where that microcassette is, and it kills me. But he was so sweet and lovely. And I know I've told this story before on the show, so I won't go through it again. But yeah, that truly was like a great moment for me. And working in sports for 16 years, it was like Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra and Frank Robinson and and football. I mean, good Lord, tons of football people, tons of Joe Namath and Mean Joe Green.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, it really was like, I cannot believe I am meeting these people.
Yeah,
and
I worked with.
And most of them were great.
I worked with the New York quarterback, Phil, the Giants quarterback. Jeez,
Phil Simms.
Phil Simms, yeah. And that was a giant of a man. I remember I met him, and I was my job to follow him around and film him, not stalk him. I was getting paid. And I remember, and I'm not a big football fan, but I remember standing next to him, and I'm a pretty tall guy. I'm like 6'3", and he was taller than I was, and his shoulders were broader.
Wow. And
I'm like, wow, this is a big guy, and he's a quarterback. And then I remember the following Sunday, which was like 3 or 4 days after that, I saw him on TV in a game, and he was the smallest freaking guy on the field. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy crap.
Oh yeah. I again, because of my association at the Score and being there for 10 years and then another 6 years of Sporting News, a lot of the Bears I knew over the years. And in my last 3 years at WBBM, the news station, we carried the Bears games on radio and did the post game from our station. And several former players would be analysts on the show. And it was like, literally, Jim Schwantz, an old player, was like, "Hey, John Shaky Suntress, so great to see you." And that was my nickname,
That's
Shaky.
cool.
And I'm like, "How do you remember me?" He's like, "Oh, you're funny as hell." And so it's like, "All right, now with traffic, here's John Suntress," and he'd go, "Shaky." And he'd like all excited and stuff. And I'm like,
he was
"That's
on.
insane."
You would hear this man say "shaky" on the air.
Yes, exactly. And then it was great because then callers would call in. Guys, I have not been on sports radio every day, literally for 20 years. literally that long ago.
People remember.
And all these people, yes, would call up and go, "Hey, is that really you, Shaky?" And it's like, "Yes, it is." It's like, "Hey, my God, it's nice to hear you over by there. That's great. That's nice." And it's like, "Thanks, man. Nice to hear you." So yeah,
well, I forget where we were. You and I were walking.
Yeah.
I think it was in Chicago. It had to be.
We were having dinner. I think we were having dinner at that across the street from the Donald Stevenson Center where the Wizard Chicago shows are.
I was there. That's the first time I went out with you guys.
No, you weren't there. It was Johnny and I.
It was with Artie and Zod. We got put in a different section than you.
Yeah, because he got pulled away. Yeah, we were all there. I remember that.
That's right. And then we started walking, and Johnny and I were talking, and this guy just stops him out of nowhere. He was sitting down in the cordoned off area, and he goes, and he pulled John or what do you call it? He called you Shaky. Yeah, he called you Shaky. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? I'm
Shaky Chips.
Johnny's a celebrity. What's going on?
It's the weird, and also at comic shows when people put two and two together. Steve Wacker, the old Marvel editor, grew up downstate Illinois, and now he's in charge of Marvel animation and everything. And he's like, I used to listen to you on the score, or Fraction. Fraction heard me on the score, and he would listen and stuff. And it's seriously, it's like that is so nice because again, I mean, fuck, it was 20 years ago. Sorry, I didn't mean to drop it. You know what's going to come.
Are any of those recordings available, like downloaded or something somewhere?
My air checks of me?
Yeah, like the old shows.
I have
Chicago Likeable section.
I was I truly, Artie, I was so embarrassed by my first 10 years of air checks. I've kept so few things. I've got just a handful of things, and not even MP3 ready to like play on the show or anything like that.
But none of your characters and voices and stuff?
Oh, no, I've got some. I'll be honest. Back then, I did a lot of ethnic humor where I would imitate. I mean, I don't mind doing Mike Tyson because I think much like Bill Cosby.
He's a character.
Yeah, I mean, his voice is so distinct. I don't feel bad doing it.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, I used to do Reggie White, who also had a very distinct voice. I did Hispanic characters. I did global dialects and a lot of various things because, and I didn't do it with any meanness or malice, but I do accept the current social norms. So a lot of that stuff I wouldn't feel comfortable playing. I do have, something. I do have a montage that I put on the Word Balloon feed of a lot of different voices I did. And I did a commercial for, I can't even remember, but I did Stallone and Burgess Meredith having a Rocky and Mick conversation and stuff like that. So I'll find that and I'll bring it on and we'll play it on the show sometime. Maybe next time when we do Ghost Stories, I'll play it. But no, honestly, because I'm kind of glad that a lot of that stuff is buried and nobody hears it because it is the kind of stuff that if it came out, I would probably have to make a public apology.
It was looser times.
Yeah. And again, I get it, and that literally,
you don't have to make an apology because you just did it.
There you go. Well, because really, a friend of mine has a podcast, and he's an old score host, and he's like, "Come on, do X voice," and I'm like, "No, can't do it anymore, man. I respect what's going on, and it's I totally get it, and it's like I don't want to. I mean, God, I had Bertie Capel on from the Love Boat, and for the first 5 years of his getting bit parts on shows, he was playing Hispanic characters, and he's a Jewish gentleman. Yeah. And he said, I mean, even 87 years old, and he's like, "Hey, if I took anybody's job, I feel horrible. I'm sorry that wasn't a big deal back then, but that I certainly do regret if I kept a Hispanic person from getting a job." So
because now we only do Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh yes.
Oh, thank you.
Did you hear it this week, Stokes?
I did. And who was on?
That would be Adam Arkin and Alan Arkin. Yes,
Jimmy Farr,
father and son. Good stuff. That guy's a genius. Good.
Both
of them are. I love Adam as well as son. Good Lord.
I was laughing because I just heard you doing him. That's what I kept hearing.
And he was. How about that high cackle laugh when he's delighted of like some of those stories and some of Gilbert's jokes and stuff? It was so great. And I mean, the guy is a sketch comedy genius. He's. I mean, really we lost Carl Reiner a few weeks ago, but really is like in that kind of group of incredible comedy performers. And I mean, if you guys haven't watched the Comiskey Method with him and Michael Douglas, and he's Michael Douglas's older friend. Oh, he's the co-star.
It's genius. She watched the whole thing. She loves it.
It's a great show. It's a really great show.
It's really good.
Yes.
In-Laws. I love the In-Laws. How great is that movie?
It's the best. And again, who thinks it's a good idea to remake? Who thinks it's a good idea to remake that movie with? I mean, I love Albert Brooks and again Michael Douglas, but it was so bad. The remake is so bad. and that movie, you're right. Well, let me tell you, flames on my car. All right, and he tells great stories about the project coming together, the original In-Laws. And
really?
I was watching Peter Falk on a TV show, and I'm like, I think I can work with him. I think we'd be funny together. And just
the Bay of Pigs, really.
The best is, you saw that picture of Kennedy? Yeah, he was nuts about me. Because, he knew you. He was nuts about me.
Where'd you meet him? The Bay of Cuba.
Bay of Pigs. You win some, you lose. Oh, it's such a great. And Libertini is the dictator general.
That's got to be one of my favorite movies. When people ask me like on the spot, name your favorite movies, and I'm always at a loss, but that's one of my favorite movies is the In-Laws, the original In-Laws.
Mike Green.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I got to rewatch that. We should do a rewatch. We should do a watch along or whatever it is.
Though honestly, Mike, I'm always worried about comedies because you don't want to make fun of a comedy. You know what I mean?
It's hard. It's hard to do.
Honestly, I mean, because we've mentioned other comedies, and I'm always like, no, man, because then you want to hear the jokes. If anything,
that's true. You're right.
If anything, we should have a watch party like on Facebook, and I'll watch it and just type comments or something like that. Because it's so good. God,
it's so good. Another of my favorite comedies, Midnight Run.
Oh yeah, And that was supposed to be Eddie Murphy. And Stallone, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that. It's almost supposed to be like an action movie.
Right. No, Charles Grodin, I love.
Charles Grodin is so pitch perfect in that movie. Oh my God.
Another one, So I Married an Axe Murderer, and that 5 minutes that Charles Grodin is in the movie, and Anthony LaPaglia is trying to commandeer his car. And he's like, I'm a police officer. I need your car. He's like, no. And it's so quintessential Charles Grodin. His best movie, early 70s, The Heartbreak Kid, the original Heartbreak Kid.
I haven't seen that in like 30 years.
Oh my God! And he's on his honeymoon, and he sees Sybil Shepherd, and this is 1972, perfect Sybil Shepherd at her absolute.
Oh my goodness!
And he regrets having been just married, and it's this it really is this amazing comedy of him avoiding his wife and just everything she does just annoys him even more. And Eddie Albert from Green Acres plays Sybil Shepherd's asshole father.
I thought his plays.
I thought he played her butthole.
Exactly. It's an amazing scene of him trying to buy off Charles Grodin. He's like, "I love your daughter, sir. I want to marry her." You mean to say you would you would pass up $1,000? I love your daughter, sir. $5,000? I love your daughter, sir. $10,000? And he just his voice keeps getting louder as the mic goes up. And it's this awesome scene. And he is at his quintessential jerkiness, Eddie Albert.
Wasn't that a remake of a Ben Stiller movie?
It's the other way around, but yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
And actually I don't mind the remake. It's okay. Can't hold a candle to the original. It is so. Elaine May's daughter, Jeannie Berlin, plays the wife. And it's so great because she really she snorts when she laughs. She's gross when she eats. And you just watch Charles Grodin just absolutely become horrified. Like, how did I marry this woman? Like, God, I got
my wife.
Daddy.
Damn it.
So yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, are we done? Are we wiped out, boys?
I think so.
I actually got to run. I gotta go.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's late for. I know it's late for the East Coast boys. So
I wouldn't even be able to stay for the postseason. The post-show wrap up time.
I understand.
Special shout out to listener John Freeman for commissioning me to do an poster, which I posted on our link.
Man.
Before we leave, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I have it here. Wait a minute.
Oh, here we go.
Here's something.
There it is.
Oh man, look at that thing.
Harold's, Artie. It makes you hungry for Harold.
I know. I might go tonight. Kevin Bixby's texting me.
And I'm
let's go get Harold's. I might have to go.
His forehead.
That's an
you have
awesome
to
job,
make
Scoot.
prints of this, Scoot, and sell
Yeah.
it at C2E2. The next
I
C2E2
will. Yeah,
has to be
Okay.
printed.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be.
Yeah.
We got to blow one up to give the Heralds too.
Yeah, we'll
You
just
know,
hold-
I'm
well, hold
gonna
on.
hang in my office.
All
Hold on
12
to it.
listeners will buy it from me.
Yeah, hold on to it for 2022.
I should add Jamie Farr to it.
You can put him in the clouds talking like God, like
Yeah.
Christ.
In pajamas. Jamie
Yeah.
Farr in pajamas.
Mhm.
With Toledo Mudhead's hat on. I
He
think
needs a
he's-
tuft of chest hair coming out of
His
it.
reflection could be on Franco's forehead.
I see you
Yeah.
have chest hair.
And of course, Yoko chips.
Mhm.
He said it twice.
Yeah.
Well, because
With Art and Franco and of course Yoko chips.
of course,
Yoko chips.
Of course.
because it was from Yoko.
Chips.
Yes, I have to.
That was awesome.
I
That
said
was
Mike
awesome.
Price too.
Oh, there we go. You already get your first sale, Scoot. Kevin
Okay.
Bixby will buy it.
Bill Bixby.
And here we go. That poster makes me want to stop drawing glove pics. So draw another poster, Scoot.
It's the ultimate. I'm glad that Tad Stones had that glove in his house too. That was
Yeah.
one on the wall. I need one in my house.
The theme. That's the mascot of the show is Johnny's glove.
The glove. Jamie Farr should have did have worn one glove. That would've
Oh
been-
yeah. And
Or
the
just have the
glove.
glove on his shoulder.
We should have had him say Mike and the other Mike and the glove.
On the glove.
He could have had the glove over his chair or his shoulder or something. That would've
Gary
been cool.
Payton, the glove.
And
Good
the
call.
Verjunt.
The Virginia.
I mean, I think
I think I would
Williams?
pay $100 to hear Jamie Farr say for John.
Yeah, it'd be worth it.
Maybe worth it.
Listen, seriously, guys. Next time we got to tell ghost stories because we've been
Yeah.
talking about it for a while.
Yeah, we will.
But
I
didn't-
got some new ones.
I didn't. I thought I'd never see this, but I want to thank Tad Stones for coming on the show,
Yeah.
and Jamie Farr for
Yeah.
coming on the
Jamie
show.
Farr.
Yeah, Jamie
What an
Farr,
incredible
that's
show. I think
I
it's
really
reached its peak now.
I was about to say, I think this has to be the last podcast. Because
This might be the
Yeah,
end.
we have to drop
Yeah.
the mic after this. How do we top this?
What
has to
episode
gonna-
is this, Artie?
We're gonna reboot.
I don't know, like 407, maybe.
Something like that.
No,
Yeah, I
one
think-
178, maybe.
I don't know
We
if
got to
you
get Dean Kane on the next one. Yeah.
Dean King cameo, $100.
I'm busy that night.
Superboy Prime. That's all we have.
About Prime. Well, who else is Superman we could get? We're just dressed up someone like Superman.
we need old 80s Superboy from.
That'd be good. Gerard. Gerard.
Yeah, Gerard Christopher or Gerard.
Yeah.
Gerard Christopher.
Christopher, yeah.
We'll get him up there.
Or Jeff
No,
East. We got to get Jeff East.
Or
Clark before he, when he throws the green icicle into the
mhm.
Arctic. And
Oh, that guy. I met that guy. I met the baby too. I just got their autographs. I uncovered their photos.
they all
You
count.
know who we could get? I know I could get real easy. My childhood Batman. I could get original art.
Original art. Original art.
No, it's
Only if Ray shows up with him.
Yeah.
Al.
Al.
Like, you gotta remember Al and Barbara, his wife.
You gotta
Barbara.
send out. You gotta send Al. You gotta send Al your
Original Art and Al will do a cameo together for $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's got to hold the red phone in front
I
of him.
don't even know if Al is around anymore. I don't know what happened to that guy.
He has
He probably got beat up by
No
the
longer with
Joker.
us, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's probably still there. I remember him being real hairy.
Coke and I are going to Al. We're laughing at a guy who's potentially dead. So
He's probably alive. He was about my dad's age, maybe a little younger. Alan
Good.
Carter, I remember, would come over.
Jimmy
I
the
love that.
Muscle on Cameo.
Oh yeah,
Also,
I love that Art's next comic is going to be Rock Guy and Bernard.
Yeah.
Rockman, Bernard, and original art. And Al.
technologically, the muscle is still like 15 years behind us. God bless him. But he literally just got a smartphone, I think, in the last year or two.
He
Like,
texted me the other day.
Dude, I don't have any internet, dude.
He texted me the other day and he said, "Hey, dude, you ever hear these things called podcasts?"
Yeah.
So
Well, me and my wife were actually talking about him today a little bit, and I told her, explain it. Like, he graduated high school, and now it's just the next day. Like, he graduated high school, and then he went to work, and now it's the same.
It's just Groundhog Day for him.
Yeah, it's the same. it just continued.
He's
Journey went forward.
he's almost, he had that detached retina like Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah, he's
but
He's actually got to have another surgery.
Yeah,
I
one
was
more.
talking to him the other day.
Yeah, I talked to him for like an hour the other day too. Yeah,
he's awesome. I don't mean to make fun.
Oh, we love
the guy.
I love Jimmy.
We make fun of the ones we love, and we really make fun of the ones we hate. So
in both cases, absolutely.
We don't really talk about those guys.
Yeah,
that's true. We don't name them.
But
by the way, Jeff East on Cameo, $100.
That's awesome. Who is that?
That's Superman with the Crystal.
Yeah, that's young.
I could have saved him. I couldn't save him. Remember?
Yeah,
I met those guys at the Metropolis thing.
You are
Aaron Smolinski. He's the baby with the truck.
Yeah,
$25.
Artie's guy.
Yeah, I met him, and they were cool. But their handler was like all handlerly. He was kind of dumb. But
yeah, like Billy D. Williams' handler was a douche.
One of the Supermans traded me for my comics and the drawing stuff, but the other guy, I paid for them because the handler was. He even said that. So I'm like, I don't care, man. Here's $20. Just sign it.
Bill Cartwright? Was Bill Cartwright his handler?
Yeah, but he had a purple coat on. He was.
How awesome was that? Ted Dave checks Ross Andrew and already Ross Andrew.
And he even paused a little bit. He was a little confused, and he went, okay.
Well, a few of you did that. I think Johnny did it too.
That's why Artie and I did it at the same time. I know. We were crying. That's sad. We can't even help it, man. We got to do inside jokes in front of company. That's not good.
Do it.
You're bad.
Hey, I give us credit. We were all pretty well behaved during that.
As I said, it was one of the quietest podcasts, and we had 7 people on, and we were hanging on every word. By the way, don't you think Tad could be Ed Begley Jr.'s stunt double?
He could.
Yeah.
Or Ed Begley could be his stunt double.
Exactly. I'm gonna recommend that to Ted.
I like the fact that we've been doing this for 10 years, and 8 or 9 years ago we had Tom Welling.
We should
gonna be good.
I bet he's not on Cameo. I bet.
Yeah, 8 or 9 years ago, our guest was Gail Simone, and then
not on Cameo.
8 years ago, now 8 years later, Tad Stones has been the only guest. Nobody's ever
had
wanted.
Mark Waid on there.
Yeah, we had Mark on. We had Dave Peterson on.
Roberson,
Mike Norton.
Roberson.
Well, of course, we've had Mike on several times. We've had Chris on. Absolutely. We had didn't
Jamie Farr.
And Jamie, yes.
Jamie Farr.
Jamie and Tad were on the same episode. Just think about that.
It was 3 hours and 30 minutes.
$60 on Cameo, by the way.
Who is?
Ed Begley is $60 on Cameo.
That's pretty reasonable.
I'm gonna send Ozzy some money. Ozzy again.
I knew it.
I'm gonna do it. I keep thinking about it. I'm getting all creative in my.
Ask him if he's ever had Harold's when you talk to him.
Yeah, maybe he might.
I bet he has
250 characters wisely already. I get a lot of information.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I gotta go.
All right.
I like Pink very much, Lois.
I like Ted Stones very much, Lois.
I like Pink Stones very much.
I like Jamie Farr very much, Lois.
Oh yeah.
It's true. That's all that stuff is true. Are we going now?
I like Pink very much, Lois.
All right, we're gonna go.
Pink very much, Lois.
I like Pink very much. Follow us when you see us. Thank you for watching the podcast with special guests Jamie Farr and Ted Stones. They developed our childhood, our memories of long ago have involved those two men at some point.
Yeah.
Be nice to each other. Stop fighting. Stop crying. Go to bed early. Call your mother.
Wash your hands.
Bye.
Wash your hands. Okay, bye-bye.